Chapter 1, beginnings. His mother was in the hospital. She was pregnant and giving birth, and out came the child we know as Hans. Oh, great, another mouth to feed. Now I can't buy extra beer. I hate you, Worm. Oh, yeah, he needs a name. The father was holding a large beer in one hand and a bottle of ketchup in the other. Hans, yes. Hans, that is name. The mother was enraged. Oh, of course you drunk. You can't even think of a name. The first thing you think of is that disgusting ketchup. What is wrong with you? In a retort, the father said, shut it. I named him Hans because he has hands. And what are doing? Talking back. You femur kites lupus familiaris. I'm gonna beat you so hard you're gonna look like a fala poo. What? What even is that? What is a fala poo? You're insane, delusional. The mother yelled and then the doctor kicked them out. Hans was not even given any shots as a result. He got bellucofluptua, a disease that makes you say, yeah, I think I'm real, on the date March 24th, 1915. Later, Hans was sat at the dinner table. There was his mother, his father, and his brother named Bogdani, 2018, who died of diarrhea on July 27th, 1914, just a day before what? Who is that? Another dude you're cheating with? This remark clearly bewildered the mother of Hans. That is your son. Have you forgotten already? This made Hans' father very, very angry, but he kept it in as if he screamed too loud he would unload gallons of diarrhea he had been holding in. Yeah, I knew that, Sherlock Holmes. Considering that there was no such thing as Sherlock Holmes yet, Hans' mother regarded this as more drunken banter from a useless, ugly man. Food now, I want! Bugatti 2000 said as he threw a table across the room. Afterwards, they ate a rotting, decapitated pig head. As Hans' father considered this a delicacy, this was because after all the beer he drunk daily, his taste buds had ceased to exist. Hans was in his room crying because he had not eaten in his entire life. This was because Bogdani 2018 harvested all the milk from Hans' mother long ago. Hans was starving, but he then noticed a rat. He then punched the wall and cleverly placed war axe hanging from the wall, fell on the rat, splattering blood everywhere and in a dirty bowl on the floor. Then, due to the fact Hans' father was punching holes in the wall, the whole house was shaking, and the bowl of rat soup bounced in the air and onto Hans' bed, thus beginning Hans' obsession of rat soup, which would later benefit him in the war. What? You made that? You made that? If you can make stuff, go get a job, you bum! Said Hans' father hours later when he saw the rat soup. He then threw Hans out the window and he landed in a lumber yard. Yup, I've been working her for years. I can show you the ropes.
This was said by a 124-year-old man who was working in the lumberyard. He then showed Hans his rope collection, but Hans wasn't having it. He bawled his eyes out. This caused the old man to kill himself because he was oh so sad. Now Hans could have been crying because he was bleeding after being thrown out of a 3-story house window, but both theories could suffice anyway. He lay there for hours in a pile of blood. There you is! Mom, they hit my head, 'cause you missing now. I'ma beat you till you sunny side up, said Bogatti 2018. Also, his remark about beating Hans made no sense, so before he could beat Hans until he was sunny side up, his English teacher strangled him.
If I ever see you using Hebrew grammar again, I'm gonna shove this ruler so far up your... Oh, hi, Hans. It seems you're all grown up now. Wait.
A moment, you a baby, you ain't supposed to work. You haven't even gone to school, it's time to go now. She then violently picked up Hans and kidnapped him in order to educate him in her class, English 3, which made no sense since considering this was in Germany during the class. Hans understood nothing, mostly due to the fact that he was a baby and the teacher was teaching in English. By 4:21 a.m., she was done instructing and brought him back home.
Well, look what the cat dragged in. Sneaking out, are you?
Why would you do this to your own mother? I gave birth to you. She then slammed Hans against the wall repeatedly and threw him at his bed. His room was destroyed by his father's wrath. It was Christmas. This meant Hans was ungrounded and had permission to eat food again. Hans's mother unlocked the basement door and unleashed Hans, who was supposedly not dead.
What did I say? I don't want no dang hoes in my house.
Hans' father yelled as he chucked a beer bottle at Hans' mother. However, it missed and hit Bogatti 2018, fracturing his skull. Oh, I gotcha. Hans' mother then kissed Bogatti 2018 on the head. For some reason, she thought this was proper medical attention.
Oh, great, another gold bar. How many times do I have to tell you women money can't buy happiness? Beer is the only happiness.
For the past years, Hans' mother worked at a gold mine and stole gold to gift for Christmas. Of course, Hans' father always just buried with poop to prove a point. "What did I get? What did I get?" Bogatti with L18 said, even though clearly he had opened to what he presents already, all being the things of his dreams. He acted as if he had gotten nothing. It's Hans' turn. Hans' mother handed him his present. Of course, Hans couldn't even move, considering he hadn't eaten for weeks and was practically a husk. "Oh, be grateful. Oh, be grateful," Hans' mother said as she slapped Hans as hard as she could. She then threw his body outside where it was buried in snow until the morning. War never changes. "Get out of my house, you psycho hobo!" Hans' mother then decapitated the hobo with a broom. It's Hans' birthday today.
By this point, he had healed from his injuries, however, this luck would not last long.
Oh, what's going on now? Which one's birthday is it? It's mine, it's mine.
Bogatti 2018 yelled as he had a tantrum, destroying everything. "Shut it! You done to looking up!" Hans' mother then backhanded Bogatti 2018 across the room. "Oh yeah, the hobo kid! That one ain't even mine. What about Jimma?" Hans' mother was disgusted. "Jimmy? Jimmy? Who is that? Oh, don't tell me! No, you cheating piece of garbage!" She then slung a garbage bag at Hans' dad, but it missed and covered Hans in garbage.
You talking back? You talking back, you fat pig?
He then chugged a gallon of pig grease and punched Hans' mother. She was quiet after that.
All right, Hans, you can have this. It's pretty good, but don't expect more.
He handed Hans a half-empty bottle of beer. "Wait, let me get a sip. You can share with your papa beer." Hans' father then shoved the entire thing and dropped the bottle on Hans' head. Of course, Hans had no reaction because he didn't know what birthdays are, so this didn't affect him, except for the fact that the rotting garbage was probably infecting the exposed wounds he has gotten from the bottle. Chapter 2. The Education. By now, Hans was 3 and had not spoken yet. This angered Hans' father that day, as he had already drunk 7 beer bottles, less than his usual morning amount. This was because the night before Bogatti 2018 set the fridge on fire as a prank. "I'm home! Hey, I'm home!" Hans was the only one home as his mother was out and his brother was locked in the cellar in the backyard starving.
Oh, it's you ugly hand.
Hans said nothing. "Hey, I'm talking to you! You think you're so high and mighty with your little chair in one tooth?" Hans said nothing. "Oh, play the silent game, huh?" Hans said nothing. Hans' father then strangled Hans. "Say something! Do something! You're a man, not a woman! Go on, talk back, fight back, do something! You're 3 years old! When I was 3 years old, I already had 7 kids and a severe smoking addiction! What's your excuse, huh? Hans was about to say something. Ma'am, I knew it! I knew you were cheating with my wife! Get out! Get out of my house!" Hans' father didn't let him finish and threw him out the window.
Ma'am, 15, Mike.
Hans finished. He was trying to warn his father about a sniper. The sniper shot and hit Hans' father beer. The sniper retreated. As a result, in his drunken insanity, he somehow thought Hans destroyed his bottle with mind powers.
That's it. We're gonna scan your brain. Maybe there's some beer in it I can harvest.
As Hans and his father were at the grossest Durchfallmedizinzentrum, they were examining Hans' brain for mind powers. Of course, the doctor just played along out of fear of getting punched in the face.
You're gonna have to leave.
The doctor was trying to get Hans a medical examination.
Oh yeah, what you
Got it about stevia? The doctor's name wasn't stevia.
Well,
The brainwaves, yeah, the brainwaves from your son could kill you without.
her glasses, but
Only my glasses work, so yeah.
okay, but no funny business. Don't make my son think he's useful.
Hans' father left the room as he nearly punched several holes in the wall and killed an old lady in the hall to prove a point. All right, what's 1 + 1, 2, 3, 18, 33, 33, 33, 33, 8, 2 divided by the in the hall to prove a point.
All right, what's 1 + 1, 2, 3, 18, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2 divided by
X plus Y to the power of 72, 17, 23, 4 times 42 equals 102 BC. Hans peed himself. Don't read the answer, it's official, you dumb dinner woman. He then stamped text on his forehead that said fathead to stamp in lead paint. He then called Hans' father in and explained.
So you were telling me after all the taxes I pay you with all of the gadgets,
Can't see my son's brain on my powers. The doctor tried to get a word in.
Ego.
This angered Hans' father more. Oh, you're joking, Mac, huh? No, sir, I'm trying to say your son doesn't have mind powers. Hans' father was now enraged. You're telling me what to think. I know how think me your soul problem. He then threw the doctor across the room. The doctor hit a table, destroying many things, and in the process injecting the doctor with rat poison. Afterward, he beat Hans with a beer bottle repeatedly to fix the problem.
all right, that's enough beer hitting.
Blow your head, make it red. Wait a minute, don't tell me you wasted all our ketchup and put it on your head. He then beat Hans for 7 hours straight. All right, you ain't smart. You putting ketchup on your head, so you can go to shoe now. It's 5 a.m. in the morning, and Hans' father busted down Hans' door and threw a hammer in his head to wake him up. Get up, you fat back.
Oh, no, not funny enough, but you couch potato. Hans was not pleased by this and began crying. This only angered his father. Oh, what are you, a baby? Stop crying! Hans continued. In response, Hans' father poured gallons of paint grease on Hans' bed and threw him in the living room. Don't forget to let Bogatti take out of the cellar that fell and eat some school line. Hans' father said to his mother, who was passed out drunk on the table, he then threw Hans in the general direction of the school and went to work, all trying to snip Hans. The teacher on her way to school said, I'm bringing you in the bow. She brought Hans to the principal. Son, I ought to say you're a failure and you're ugly. For that reason, you had failed the 12th grade. Go back to kindergarten. Hans was already in kindergarten, so this made no difference. Once he arrived at class, he saw a dead inside senile catatonic old woman just gazing at the wall with her mouth hanging. Not a new student. The principal said as he walked away. The teacher was unresponsive and paid no attention.
The principal said as he walked away, the teacher was unresponsive and paid no attention. 4 kids were dead, their bodies rotting on the floor, and the 5 alive ones were just caressingly and recklessly running around the room rampant. The classroom was trashed and all the desks were destroyed or on the floor. A bell that rang, all the children stopped in their tracks and got in their seats all scared. Hans didn't understand. Then a strange man in a old war outfit came in. All right, cannon fodder, listen up. We got a prequel. What you doing? The man then picked up Hans, strangling him. What do you think you're doing, May? You know I'm glad you're gonna explode. Hans didn't understand. The man then did a backflip and threw Hans across the room. Confidently, he landed in a chair. As I was saying, we gotta get Buff Destroyer and show him who's boss. This next war, we gonna be victorious. They shoot and let yous get Afri cannon out them greedy sons out. Oh, the old woman fell out of the chair, still unresponsive, interrupting the fellow's rant session. Oh yeah, you're all just babies? I guess I could teach something. Some random kid said. In response, the man blew the kid's brains out. Hans and the others were quiet after that.
All right, here we go. BZDF or JMOP. Something. Now I know Mama K's. Next time you sing her, you get beat.
He then pointed to one of the rotting corpses.
Yes, you. Sing me ABCs.
The rotting corpse, of course, did not respond.
I'm warning you, boy.
The silence continued.
Oh, we got a smart guy here, huh? Oh, yes, so smart. Why don't you teach next class?
The man then kicked the old, practically dead vegetable of a teacher out of the way and set the corpse on the chair. Everyone stared intently, waiting for something to happen.
I thought you were smart. Well, you're fired up.
He then took out a flamethrower and began bursting flames upon the corpse. The entire school caught on fire and the roof collapsed on the man, killing him.
Ooh, Patty touch.
A kid said he touched the fire and immediately ignited. By this point, only Hans and another kid were alive in the room. Luckily, the teacher's 732-year-old soap collection fell out and Hans slipped and exploded. And Hans was the only survivor. His mom then came over to him and said,
How was school today?
Before Hans could say anything, she slapped him so hard he turned purple.
Trick you. I don't give a poop what happened. Now go home.
She then strapped Hans to a bike and pushed the bike. Somehow it perfectly balanced and went directly to his house. Another day. More heck, however, school was called off today for reasons.
And wake up, wake the frig up.
Hans' father was banging on the door. Eventually, he knocked it down and threw it like a frisbee out of the window.
Today is the day.
Hans' father proudly declared. Of course, Hans had no idea what he was talking about.
Hans had no idea what he was talking about. This was because he was a 3-year-old baby with brain damage. What you don't know, you don't friggin' know! Hans' father was expecting an ounce. We're hunting big. Hans' mother was finally woken up. She had been sleeping for over 27 hours at this point.
Shut your ears and I don't like.
Hans' father was filled with anger. He turned around and gave her the gaze of death.
You didn't let Bogatti 2010 out of the cellar, did you?
And be gone!
Hallelujah.
The mother didn't comprehend. It's time for the punishment. He then put on a pig head and charged across the house and jumped headfirst towards Hans' mom and began beating her. At least what he thought was her. He really was just beating a bag of rice in the kitchen. He was so drunk he couldn't even charge down the hall straight forward.
Don't make a mess.
Hans' father forgot what happened.
Sure.
Hans' mother then went to release Bogatti 2010 from the cellar in the back.
It was dinner and the family were eating one leaf, but of course Bogatti 2010 ate the whole thing.
Oh great, now there say 2 fat pigs in the family! Hans' mother flipped over the table and threw it at Hans' father, but of course she missed and it hit Hans.
I bring you pig and drink beer. I support this family. I am this family, you do nothing.
Hans' mother was offended.
Drinking beer isn't a job. I'm the only one who works. I work in a coal mile 9 hours, almost every day for 2 cents a mana. And the pig is disgusting. It's rotting. In retort, Hans' father said, "Firstly, who do you think you're talking to? Secondly, drinking beer is a job. I do it 15 hours a day, so ha, I work more than you. And kids in Africa would be grateful to eat rotting pig head." Hans' father then chugged a gallon of pig grease. "You the one making our kid Dumbo. You said he was in your kid." "Oh yeah, that's right." He then picked Hans up by the head with one hand and threw him out the window. "Get out, you cheating ugly!" He then pointed to the door, signaling them to leave. However, Hans' mother knew a tactic called hit on the head with bottle. So he did just that, and he forgot everything the next morning. It was raining, and Hans' father still thought Hans had mind powers. "Aight, son, do something useful and stop that dang rain. It scares the pigs." By this point, Hans could somewhat talk. "Bus, Papa, I count." Hans' father was very angry. "Oh, you can't contribute, but you can eat food, drink water, use the stuff I paid for." Hans' father chugged 2 bottles of beer. "I know you got that Mama Murphy brain, son. Either you stop that damn rain or you go catch us a pig." Hans' father felt pretty proud after that comment. "Here, you can use this." Hans' father broke a beer bottle and handed it to Hans. "But Papa, the pig is monster." Hans' father punched Hans. "I see." Then searched in the woods for a pig or something.
Hans stumbled upon some weird cult ritual where there was a rotting pig head in the middle. He walked up to one of the members.
I know, yeah.
The member was very old, and so were the others. "You, I think, are good, Joe." They all said, and then they jumped into a nearby volcano. Hans didn't understand, but took the decapitated pig head. What he didn't know is that he was just cursed to say,
Stop, I'm not dead.
In April of 1915, Hans returned home with the pig head, and his family yelled at him and acted like they hadn't eaten in days, even though his brother weighed 492 pounds.
When I'm hungry, you bloody dough.
Hans' father yelled,
You did this to me, your mother. I gave birth to you. You are so cruel and evil, oh my.
Hans' mother pleaded.
Ooh.
Bugatti 2015 yelled.
Hans' father then ripped the pig head out of Hans' hands and put a candle in it. They waited 2 minutes and decided it was done.
And all but Hans gorged on the pig head. Hans just ate rat soup as usual.
Hans had woken up to his father, destroying everything in his room and punching holes in the floor because he was bored.
Hey, Hans! It's the first day of football yet, no matter what year.
Hans' father then went in a temporary coma after part of the ceiling collapsed on him.
But, father, the school is gone. Hans' father was in a coma, so he didn't hear this.
Hans was still in his room as Hans' father was in a coma still. His mother came to clean his room.
La 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 la, gonna do crazy like a baby, gonna punch your mama like a dog. What the heck?
Why, you not at school, you skipping?
His mother was clearly not a happy camper.
But Mo.
Hans' mother wasn't having it. She interrupted him.
Nope, no, but I'm your mama and I know Bessie.
She then threw a brick at his head. Hans woke up hours later in class, and strangely enough, it felt as if his butt was missing. Weird, he was in first grade, and his teacher came in with a massive afro and weird glasses. He seemed as if he was the most white guy in history.
All right, class, today we're talking about white privilege.
He then slammed the donut on his desk, smashing it, and pointed at a kid to come get it.
Hey, buddy, come over here and get this donut.
As the kid went up to obtain the donut, the teacher backhanded him across the room. The kid died.
See that, Claude? That's white privilege. He thought he could waltz up here and get that donut.
The kid in question was Mexican.
Stop it.
The man then threw the table out the window and slammed a book on a kid's desk.
Cow rights.
Then a strange German man with a square mustache busted down the door.
Cow rights? No, the third grade.
He then took out a 71st century plasma laser, 50 million watts, super duper flop, extra diarrhea, ultrasound, 7.0 H, my output on minigun max exit with BTX 92 million I-core 32G plus, and shot a donut out.
This horrific yell echoed throughout the land. What's going on? The teacher yelled the strange German man and disappeared. Then a voice echoed, copy, paste. Suddenly large hordes of plus-sized people flooded the school and began massacring everyone they saw, attempting to make it to the donut. Out of my way! Out of my way! The teacher said several racial slurs and punched several black kids across the room. Then he slaughtered a cow and tried to hide inside it. Of course, this didn't fool the fat duo squad. Utangala Chul in Bezeruma Ferraio, Super Nintendo Jackleby Vino Balapa, fungi mungis. All the fat people chanted as they slowly entered the room. Eventually everyone was corned, and the teacher was being roasted over a fire. All the fats looked at Hans specifically.
After 72 days straight, all the kids had starved to death, except for Hans. And the fats never broke eye contact or moved. All of a sudden, Hans did a backflip.
That's fatphobic.
One of the 842-ton inhuman masses of obesity shouted. He then took out a 14th century sword and charged at Hans at 79 MP while he chanted the sound of donut.
I block.
After Hans said this, the fat man, once he hit Hans, was knocked back and flung into the horde of fats. This caused a chain reaction, and all of the fats were bouncing. Many of them died, and blood flew everywhere.
Enough.
A voice echoed. Suddenly, a rather large man emerged from the horde.
It is I, the McGee, who is fat. Chapter 3.
Happy camper.
The man with the glasses then closed the book, and as Napoleon once said, he then took off his glasses. War never changes. Hans' father then threw a brick through his window.
You've been cheating with my wife.
The man with the glasses was confused. Excuse me. Hans' father then jumped 30 feet in the air into his window.
I knew it, you.
Hans' father then poured a bottle of beer on the floor and it began flooding the room.
Who are you?
Hans' father didn't respond and continued pouring the seemingly infinite bottle of beer of the floor.
Stop that.
At this point, the room was flooded up to his knees with beer, and almost all the books in the man with the glasses library were ruined. These rats, they ain't nothing. Hans' father then dived into the beer, and the bottle was floating in the air, unmoved by Hans' father's sudden movement. It continued pouring gallons of beer. By this point, the beer was up to the man with the glasses' neck, so he started to swim.
Stop this madness.
Hans' father then began eating Tiamtuji's legs while under the water.
You've fallen for my trap.
Little did Hans' father know Tiamtuji's legs had advanced anti-heat technology, and Hans' father was bewildered.
No, this can't be.
Hans' father then had the severe diarrhea he had been holding in since December 11th, 1888, and had to retreat before it was too late.
You think you can escape me?
As Hans' father began running down the hall, Twin Duppageeks pulled a lever and 700 banana peels spread across the hall. Hans' father slipped and flew at Mach 8 towards the sky, and fell all the way back down into his house directly in his chair. Coincidentally, it was dinner time.
How was work today?
Hans' mother questioned. Oh, you know, the usual, nothing too crazy. As they were eating dinner, you know what, son, I'm proud of you.
Daddy 2018 was now happy, Hans wasn't paying attention.
Really? Hans' father was staring at nothing. He then turned to Bogatti 2018.
You fat boy, I hate you. You are the worst thing I've seen in my life. You were a mistake. If I could, I would strangle you alive. But that wouldn't express how much I despise you. Nothing can and nothing will. The only reason you are here and live is to remind me why the earth and humanity as a whole is doomed. This is why I drink beer, because of you. Because of you.
He then took out a plutonium boxing glove and punched Bogatti 2018 across the room.
Oh, a family so silly.
Hans' mother said after this while laughing as if she was mentally insane.
You, on the other hand.
Hans' father then looked at Hans. You need to learn how to be a man, a real man. You know what a real man does, boy? Hans' father then threw a pig tongue at Hans to get his attention.
A real man drinks beer. A real man beats women. A real man eats dogs alive for fun. You know what else?
Hans' mother was so excited for what he was going to say next that she was bashing her head against the table.
A real man. A real man.
Hans' father then just looked down at his food and at his family and remembered everything he had done and how he had done nothing to benefit anyone in his life. Depressed, he gained a large overbite out of nowhere and was very sad. Awkward.
After Hans' mother said that, a large crowd of hobos came in and started hysterically laughing while destroying everything in sight. They then picked up Bogatti 2018 and ran away.
Hans' catatonic father was still at the dinner table staring at his now rotting food, and Hans' mother walked into Hans' room.
Wake up, baby fat.
Hans was still asleep.
Wake up.
Hans was still asleep.
Wake up.
Hans was still asleep. Wake up.
That's it.
Hans' mother then gently woke up Hans very nicely and gave him a donut. Hans was pleased by this, but what he didn't know is that this donut had a disease would cause him to say,
okay,
on the date April 2nd, 1915. However, this wasn't documented by the writer Lucas Charles Edmonds.
They decided to sign you up for cool camp.
Hans was happy about this. He was gonna learn how to be a cool dude.
Yeah.
Hans' mother then became enraged.
What? Cool people don't say that, you ugly nerd.
She then spit salt in Hans' eye and signed him up for stinky, ugly, fat poop camp instead.
Hours later.
When Hans arrived at Sticky Fat Poop Camp 47, 90-year-old men surrounded him and made pooping penance faces. They then ran into the forest of strange wonders and adventure. The new recruit, said the camp instructor. He then brought him towards the camp, and hundreds of kids tried to run past the gate to escape, but he tased them with several thousand watts and closed the gate exit. Alright, so at Stinky Fat Poop Camp we have 4 buildings. Hans farted. That's the toilet. He pointed to a massive pit where there was a mountain of diarrhea. That's the children's sleeping quarters. He pointed to a rotting bee-infested building with 2 sleeping bags. The building was on the side of a cliff and half of it was hanging off. That's my sleeping quarter. He then pointed to a $3.5 billion mansion where there were several dead children chained to the wall. And that's food supply. Well, yours that is. He then pointed to rotting cow corpses, and as he did, a 500-pound Bavarian man with a 20-pack carried the rotting cow missing a head and threw it on the pile. The cow crushed the kid, killing them. No one paid attention to this. All you gotta do here is build me monuments and say how cool I am and do all these other fun activities like jump into a campfire for my amusement. The man basically just described slavery and mentioned other fun activities. In response, Hans farted again. Did you just disrespect me? He then took out a golden rod and hit Hans with it and threw Hans across the camp, landing near a group of kids. He's standing right behind me, isn't he? Some random kid said. Then some random 2,000-ton Russian dude with a 50-pack picked up the kid with 2 fingers. That quality. He then dipped the child in molten lava. Next, one of the kids tried attempted escape, but the Russian man wasn't having it. Oh! All of a sudden, the bear bursted out of the ground and mauled the child alive. Anyone else want to try that? Everyone was speechless and formed a line. The Russian man picked up another kid with 2 fingers. The kid was so scared he burped, farted, and had diarrhea at the same time. Humorous. The Russian man then put the kid in a 10 feet deep pit to decide whether he was of good quality later. He then pointed at Hans. Hans then backflipped over to the Russian man. Good stuff. He then executed all the other children in a group with a quadruple barrel shotgun as Hans said met his standards. If you can do this, you live. The Russian man then jumped 700 feet in the air and then landed on his nose and twisted his legs to look like a pretzel. Now you. Hans pushed the Russian man and he fell over and fell on a conveniently placed trampoline and bounced into the Pompeii volcano. Hans had won.
Julius Caesar said as he was on his podium. He then gave the thumbs up and Hans was allowed to live. But all of a sudden, 50,000 bears destroyed the podium and killed Caesar. And then they ran away.
Hans was around the campfire. All the other kids were weak and barely alive after all the brutal work they had done all day. However, Hans was still obese and a happy baby.
It is I, the coolest dude ever. The camp leader approached the campfire as trumpet sounds blared. Now everyone present your offerings. As everyone but Hans was scrambling to find something, a kid with sunglasses and spiky hair rode in on a skateboard. What's this nerd party? The kid said in a smug tone. The camp leader was enraged. What? Who do you think you are? The kid smirked. Who's the fat, ugly nerd? All of a sudden, everyone in the camp began laughing at the camp leader. Stop that. Then everyone began throwing garbage at him. No! Then they started lighting the camp leader on fire and began throwing rocks at him. Stop. His voice was burned out from within. Then the Bavarian man ripped several tons of dirt out of the ground and buried the camp leader alive. But then the alarms went off. Let's make like a fat and get out of here. The cool kid then rode away. Afterwards, a large yelling sound emerged from the forest. All of the kids tried to hide, but it was ineffective. The sound echoed as hordes of German reinforcements began rushing through the camp, destroying everything and slaughtering anyone they could find. I hate, the Bavarian man said. I ain't exactly a happy camper. He then took howitzer bomb by and jumped 200 feet in the air. Run! One of the Germans said as he pushed Hans out of the way. Conveniently, Hans landed on the anti-nuke pad 9. The nuke then went off, supposedly killing everything. However, Hans was still alive and in perfect condition. Well, that was one heck of a cahoot. Hans said, 9! Hans heard a voice from the mist. 9! The mist cleared and there was an unscathed German in the midst of the destruction. 9! He just kept saying 9 over and over again. 9! Never ending, invincible Neanderthal. 9! Hey, what going on here? 9 guy disappeared as a reddish blonde lady with a towering afro somersaulted into the camp right up to Hans. Look what you did! Hans didn't do anything! Why is there this hobo camp by my house? What if my kid comes over here and steps in diarrhea and then gets gonorrhea, hepatitis, stage 4 cancer? Hans said had explosive diarrhea. The Karen then began having a seizure as dozens of babies began running out of the forest toward Hans. I dodged. All of a sudden, time itself then began warping around Hans as he dodged the attack. No, impossible. Since it was impossible, it stopped happening. Oh yeah! The car and then turned into a 700-pound overweight, middle-aged man and got on a motorcycle and drove away, hitting every lady in the process. As this happened, the smoke blew Hans away. He currently landed in a time machine and went back to when the camp leader came to the fire.
Now everyone present your offerings.
As the cool kid rode in, Hans threw a banana in front of his skateboard. And the cool kid slipped and broke his neck.
Well done. You have shown quite practical defensive capabilities.
The camp leader then chucked a car at Hans, expecting him to block it, but he didn't.
Never mind, you are useless.
He then picked up Hans and threw him into the dungeon. What you in for? Some random obese prisoner said. Hans just looked at him and said,
Zombie, gonna eat you brain!
Then all of a sudden, 52 zombies burst out of the ground and dragged the prisoner under and recovered the dirt where they came from as if it never happened.
Some random kid opened the dungeon door. We better go crazy!
Hans then rushed outside and saw the camp leader's decapitated head on a pole, and the entire camp was on fire.
Class dismissed!
One of the kids said as they were somehow burning everyone who was at their school with a flamethrower. But then all of a sudden, one of the kids pressed the button of insanity.
No!
It was too late.
It can't be!
All of a sudden, a floating fat guy with dual-wielding explosive quintuple barrel machine guns appeared and began destroying everything. Oops! Butterfingers. Hans said as he dropped a stick of butter, and then he slipped on it and flinged all the way to his house.
Oh no, you don't!
The floating fat guy then threw a trampoline perfectly where Hans landed, and he bounced all the way back to the camp. However, what the fat man didn't know is that Hans' father was now awakened, and he was not pleased by this.
Bring me donut!
The fat said all of the surviving kids in the camp saw this as an opportunity for survival.
Get out of my way!
Kids then began battling one another to try and find the donut first. Hans saw an opportunity for a prank.
Hey, look!
Hans said as he placed a donut replica on the floor. Get in! The horde of kids then began charging toward the donut. But what they didn't know is that the donut had 200 pounds of dynamite attached to it. It did not end well. Hans began manically laughing as the other children looked in despair.
Oh, papi, oh, mama!
A kid said apparently this kid made a perfectly preserved donut. The fat was quite clean.
Let me taste.
He touched it.
You not poop flavor, I don't like that!
He then dumped gallons of molten lava on the chef kid, but then a voice emerged from the chaos.
Who woke me up?
It was Hans' father. The fat was too smug to understand how shrewd he was.
Well, open up, who the poop did it?
The fat was now offended.
You can't say that. That's fat phoning because plus-sized people need help to body. Hans' father then turned around and sprayed molten diarrhea on the fat, and he burned alive. It was Hans. A kid ratted out Hans, and Hans' father gazed at Hans with severe anger. That you're going to boot camp. He then picked up Hans and did the worm all the way home. Chapter 4, Upper. Hans was in his bed sleeping, then his father, who had 72 boots on, violently front flipped him. All right, boy, it's time to become a man like me. He then punched a hole in the wall and grabbed his hidden whiskey from behind the drywall and chugged it. But Papa, I do. You do. You want to go. Well, if you want to go so bad, I guess we'll skip breakfast. The breakfast they skipped was 50 ribeye steaks. But since Hans' father was urgent to leave, he dumped them into the poop hole. Once they arrived at the boot camp, the sergeant came up. Right, who's this? The sergeant said while checking his list. Han. This answer by Hans' father bewildered the sergeant, and he was now very angry. Hans! Hans! We ain't got no dang hands on this list! Hans' father then ripped off his own hand and put it on the list. Oh, there he is. Yeah, come on through. Hans' father glued his hand back on and sent Hans off with the sergeant. All right, Poop, this is boot camp. We make boots here. Hans was excited because he thought it was boot camp as in military. That was a test, and you failed. He then punched Hans in the face and threw him into a group of kids called the Degenerates. Ha 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 ha, look at those nerds over there. One of the kids from the special group was laughing. You dumb. One went to sped poop Sunday. Look at the kid from Hans's group retorted. I tell him. The special kid's leader then ran to the sergeant but tripped on a piece of fossilized diarrhea and died. Hey, I'm Carl. Some random kid said to Hans. Carl. Not Carl.
had explosive diarrhea and died. First things first, the sergeant said. At boot camp, there are two groups, the degenerates and the special. The sergeant continued. Black man! A kid from the special shouted. The sergeant then called an artillery strike on them. As I was saying, at this camp, you're gonna do man stuff like beat women, eat dogs alive, and drink beer, you know, that kind of thing. He continued. Every day we'll have fun activities like try to jump over a 6-foot-long pit of lava, or see how far you can shove a nail into your finger. Pretty fun, I'd say. The sergeant burped. Anything to make you sissies a man like me. Don't you want to be like me? The sergeant was 421 pounds and had type 4 diabetes and had rotting teeth. He was also a smoke addict and an alcoholic and was one of the most hated men in the entire town. Yeah, don't even answer. I know you're all itching to be as cool and handsome as me.
Feels like someone batched his face. No, y'all the tights and heaven like a banana. First activity, full time. Everyone was ordered to stand near to this 10 feet tall wall. Alright, fatties, first activity, get over that wall though. Before he could finish, a kid from the special group ran around the wall. Duck, yo, ooh! He threw a war axe at the kid and it landed in his brain, killing them. No chisnet, as I was saying, get over that wall, not around, over. Whatever group gets over first wins, and they get something. When the degenerates tried running head first in the wall, didn't end well. Ha ha ha, my extended legs will be quite useful in this predicament. A special kid said. He then extended his legs and was about to get over the wall, and then one of the degenerates shouted, "He's getting over the wall, stop him!" Then like rabid dogs, four of the degenerates rushed over and began destroying his extendo legs and tried to climb up them to kill him. "Stop it, you maniacs!" The special kid then pulled out a quick double-barrel shotgun and began relentlessly unloading all his ammo. However, he was only able to stop one of the lunatics. They climbed up and began eating his brain. But what they didn't know is they fell right for his trap. Bang! All of a sudden, a pole vaulting zombie began approaching, and the three degenerates couldn't get off the extendo legs because the whole time there was syrup on it, so they were stuck. No, no! They tried to escape, but the pole vaulting zombie vaulted and ate them alive. He then did a backflip into the sun. "Oh, boys will be boys," the sergeant remarked, as if he hadn't just witnessed 4 3-5-year-olds brutally die. "I got this." One of the degenerates said, "This was a 1.2-pound 2-year-old baby who had been weightlifting since the womb. They had 100 back and walked around not with their legs but with their fists." "Stop him!" The special kids rushed and tried to stop Grunges, but he just backhanded all of them at the same time, killing 3 of them. No! As the special kids pleaded, Grunges knocked over the wall with his pinky finger and it collapsed. He then stepped over the rubble. Done. The other degenerates followed and they had won. The sergeant was frightened. What prize? For the playing around. The sergeant tried to get a word in. This anger grunted. "You said get over wall me, what prize?" The sergeant peed himself and tried to find something in his pocket to give. "Here, take this." He handed Grunges a rotting apple. The sergeant was scared as Grunges inspected the apple, accepted. Grunges then walked away. The sergeant was very relieved. "What about the rest of us?" One of the degenerates said. However, this one was not a 1.2-pound 2-year-old baby with 100 back who walked on their fists, so the sergeant got real mad.
What you just say, boy? What you just say?
He then kicked the little 3-year-old in the guts and threw him across the camp. He landed on the great German flag and the pole penetrated him. His dead corpse was there for 9 years straight before it rotted off. Next activity. One of the fat kids didn't like that very much. "What a sweet-o-wanna." The sergeant then picked him up by the neck and said, "Let's talk about it." They then had nice and pleasant conversations on why the kid needed to participate in these activities. They laughed, they cried, and they connected and came back an hour later. That's what the kid wanted to happen, but in reality, the sergeant got out a 3,000-ton warhammer and smashed the kid in nothing. As I said, the sergeant continued while having diarrhea.
What you just say?
The two groups and the sergeant marched to a castle, and there was a French soldier up there. "See that blue dude?" Everyone nodded to avoid getting punched in the face. "He a bred, and he mean." The sergeant continued, "Je suis du pain, et je lui méchant." The French guy yelled, "Yeah, I told you you mean green bean. Now the activity is to make it up there and punch him in the face." The French guy then started loading the machine gun. Most importantly, have fun. The sergeant then got behind cover. Some of the kids tried to run away, but were shot for deserting. The French man then began unloading fire upon the children. Half of them died, but Hans was able to avoid death. Grunges tried to charge up the stairs, but was shredded into diarrhea by the machine that Hans and a few of the degenerates were behind cover. What are we gonna do? A degenerate said. Luckily, as they said that they farted, and the fart knocked over a blade of grass which had Hans' pocket, and then Hans' toothpick bounced out of his pocket and flew over to the French guy. Hi? Of course, when the toothpick hit the French guy, it had no effect at the time. However, what he didn't know is that this gave him Pluto-Hungaroring turbulodata disease, which makes you say Mortos Alvahisser Alan in May of 1915. So what are we going to do? The kid kept saying that Sylvester Martis, Oliver Washington Henderson the eighth, who was also behind the cover, got an idea. I got an idea. Then a light bulb appeared above his head, and he grabbed it and threw it at the French guy, and he was stunned. Oh, Rue Garçon! The French guy screamed as he was stunned. The degenerates behind cover then ran up the stairs to punch him in the face. However, Hans stayed, but then one of the special kids said, LeBron James, in the most fat person voice ever heard, and threw the basketball at Sylvester Martis, Oliver Washington Henderson, AD head, and he fell back and knocked over all the other degenerates, and they all fell down the stairs, and then the French guy was no longer stunned. C'est que vous tenez gros garçon.
Maintenant, aucun des dégénérés n'était gros, donc cette remarque n'avait aucun sens. The French guy then blasted the machine gun on them, and only 3 of them made it back. Sadly, the Sylvester Martis, Oliver Washington Henderson name did not carry on, and there would now not be a Sylvester Martis, Oliver Washington Henderson. The X as Sylvester Martis, Oliver Washington Henderson, said Ace, had died in the gunfire.
A special kid said, but then the French guy blasted him with gunfire. Luckily he was distracted and Hans had Sneak 72, so he read La Fantôme and then snuck behind the French guy. Hey, Bright, look behind you! One of the special kids tried to warn the French guy, but he spoke French, not German, so he took this as an insult to his mother and threw a grenade at the kid, killing half of the remaining special kids. He papa mamma croaked. Hans then went behind the French guy and punched him in the face. He then fell off the castle and into the spike pit. Hans had won. Augustus said as he was on his podium. He then gave the thumbs up and Hans was allowed to live. But all of a sudden 50,000 bears destroyed the podium and killed Augustus. And then they ran away. The sergeant came from out of cover and counted the survivors. Let's see here, 4 degenerates and 1 special kid. Then one of the special kids came up. No, I'm okay. The sergeant then blew the kid's brains out. Don't correct me, ugly baby. He then screamed, "Dinner time!" Once they all marched to the lunch hall, there was a mountain of perfectly cooked ribeye steaks. One of the degenerates ran over and tried to eat one because they were starving. But the sergeant threw a spear and the kid died. No. He then pointed to a dead pig hanging from a noose. That's your dinner! The sergeant then walked up to the ribeye steaks and inspected them. These aren't well done! He buried them in diarrhea. The other kids tried to eat the pig while Hans ate rat soup as usual. All the children were sleeping in the quarters. There were only 4 left, including Hans. Wake up, everybody everywhere! Wake up, everybody, do your share! All the kids got up, but one of them died from a heart attack. Be quiet, I'm trying to sleep. The last degenerate besides Hans said, "Oh, you want to sleep, huh?" He then snapped their neck. There were now only Hans and the last special kid, whose name was Shampoo Bartson. Breakfast time! He then poured gallons of syrup on Hans and Shampoo's bed and started rapidly throwing pancakes at them.
Alright, faggies, it's time for the next activity.
Shampoo was not a happy camper.
Almost everyone is dead!
The sergeant was about to kill Shampoo in a comedical and comical way, but realized he was right. Wait a minute. The sergeant then got very angry. Then who gonna pay for all of this?
They then looked at Shampoo and got an idea. Which is a pretty expensive, you know.
Shampoo then pooed his pants.
So you're all gonna make organs to sell.
Shampoo sighed of relief.
Actually,
Shampoo pooed his
that's
pants.
a really good idea. I can open a music store.
Shampoo sighed of relief.
Yeah, I can do that.
Then out of nowhere, the sergeant charged towards Shampoo and violently slaughtered him.
Now, he turned to Hans. You.
He tried to charge the Hans, but slipped on dog diarrhea and accidentally impaled himself with his own sword and died. Hansen won. Tiberius said as he was on his podium. He then gave the thumbs up and Hans was allowed to live, but all of a sudden 50,000 bears destroyed the podium and killed Tiberius, and then they ran away. Hans' father said as he catapulted himself all the way from his house to the boot camp.
What did you learn at boot camp?
He still had 72 boots on, and his feet were bleeding.
Papa Pinky pushing, and he got a light bulb in hand. Han's father was furious. What? What is that diabetic liberal stuff? Han's father began beating the ground. I guess you're gonna have to just go to normal school. He then threw Hans all the way back to his house. Now you! He looked at the rotting corpse of the sergeant. What's with all this happy cupcake stuff? The corpse said nothing. You fill my kid egg with this stuff and you say nothing. The corpse said nothing. You fill my kid egg. Now I fill yours. He then poured gallons of pig grease into the head of the corpse and then walked home. Hans and his family were eating dinner. I wonder where Bogatti 2018 is. Said Hans' mother, the hobos from earlier, then threw him through the window and he landed in a chair and ate all the food. Dang it! Hans' father slammed his fist on the table and his knife flew into the air and stabbed the ceiling. I waited all day for that, just for the fat pig to strike again. Bogatti 2018 then bawled his eyes out. Oh, shut it. It was the last time you went to school. Bogatti 2018 had not went. You're going with Hans tomorrow. He then hit both hands at Bogatti 2018 on the head with a sledgehammer and they passed out. Chapter 5, the third strike. Hans and his brother awoke in a horse carriage. Apparently Hans' father was trying to find a school that wasn't destroyed. It seemed as if wherever Hans went, destruction ensued. Derek High School, Babu Education, Elementary, Stinky Ugly Fat Boot Camp, all practically ruined shortly after Hans' arrival. Hans, you friggin' dumbo, you always failing. Hans unloaded gallons of diarrhea and you Bugatti 2018. You're fat and you ain't smart either. Bugatti 2018 unloaded gallons of diarrhea. So you're going to ugly baby school. Both of ya. Hans' jaw dropped. Yup, that's what I thought.
He then threw Hans and Bugatti 2018 out of the carriage doing 37, and he hid. They landed outside the school. Oh, Hans, you got hands! The teacher ran out and said, hey, I got hands too. Bugatti 2018 was jealous. Shut up, fatty patty. The teacher then got out a ruler and chopped off one of his hands. Now you got hand, not hands, unlike the cool hands. Hans and Bugatti 2018 were put in first grade. This is insane, I'm 12 years old, I should be in college. Bugatti 2018 was very angry. However, the teacher, who was a meth addict, was not having it. Oh God! She then ripped out Bugatti 2018 7th nose hair. Alright, nincompoops, we got two new ugly babies. The teacher had a head like Patrick with two afros growing out of her ears, and her nose looked like a bowling pin. She was also unhealthily skinny, and you could see her rib cage. Also, her eyes were yellow and bloodshot. Finally, her teeth were orange, and she had deep eye bags.
Their names are Hans and Bugatti 2018.
Every time she talked, a mix of saliva and mucus flew out of her mouth, and she sounded like she just ate 52 chocolate bars and didn't drink any water. Say hi, class! All of the kids in the class, they screamed at the top of their lungs, hi! While finally flailing their arms around one of the kids died in the chaos. Sit down! She then threw Hans and Bugatti 2018 across the room.
Alright, today we learn about that.
She then pointed at Bugatti 2018. He's fat. Then everyone in the class, including Hans, laughed at Bugatti 2018. Next topic. While the teacher was looking away and preparing for the next lesson, the kid next to Bugatti 2018 looked at him.
Hey, I'm Bugatti 2019.
Bugatti 2018 was thrilled. He now found the only friend he would have in life. H! Before Bugatti 2018 could say anything, the teacher turned around and yelled, you got the notes and crowd! She then threw a ruler at Bugatti 2019, and it impaled him through his head, and he died. Oopsie daisy! Bugatti 2018 was devastated. Anyways, the next topic is gun practice. She then chucked the gun at a fat kid. Oh, is this a hot dog? Oh, is this bacon? The kid then shot himself. He thought the gun was a hot dog and began eating it. He then pulled the trigger thinking it was bacon. Yeah, that kid's not going places. The whole class then laughed. Alright, who's next? One of the kids raised their hand. Starlight. The teacher then threw the gun and it conveniently bounced on the trigger and blew the kid's brains out. Yeah, that kid's not going places. The one kid made the same joke again. The entire class was now furious. Get him! The teacher then threw everyone hunting shotguns and they all pointed at the kid who made the joke. Wait, no yo, they didn't listen. But what they didn't know is that the kid that made the joke had actually put on a disguise and put a disguise of himself on the kid who got They didn't listen, but what they didn't know was that the
actually put on a disguise and put a disguise of himself on the kid who got shot. So the teacher said, I don't think it's worth. Bogart said, romantically laughing. The teacher then looked away. All right, class, now that's over with. She looked back and half of the class was gone, and Bogart was doing a stereotypical master villain pose. She then looked away again, and she then looked back really quickly to try to see what was happening, but when she did, almost everyone was gone. What is going on?
Then Hans and Bogart in 2018, and the remaining kids all blinked at the same time, and the teacher disappeared. Bogart was in a villain pose. No. Hans was very angry. No. Sick of this. He then strangled Bogart. Why can't something normal happen for once? It's all insanity, insanity. He then started beating Bogart into a bloody pulp. Sick of it, sick of it, sick of it, sick of it, sick of it. Then a completely placed 16th century warhammer fell on Hans' head and he passed down. I'll feel that in the morning. A kid said in the most Texan accent in history. Everyone then laughed. Ha 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 ha. Bogart, 2018 was bashing his fist on the table and the entire school was shaking. Stop, it's not that funny. The kids trying to stop Bogart, 2018, but he kept laughing while violently flailing his body around and bashing his head and fist on the table. By this point, the entire school was shaking and part of the ceiling collapsed. His propeller hat then flew off and began flying around the room, which killed 2 other kids, and he only started laughing and flailing his body around more violently. Oh my goodness! The entire school then collapsed and began falling into a sinkhole. However, luckily the propeller hat flew and blew Bogart 2018 and Hans out of the school and all the way to the house seconds before it happened. Hans landed in his bed and Bogart 2018 landed in a chair at dinner time. On school today before Bogart 2018 said anything. Hans' father, yo, shut up! Then Hans' father punched Bogart 2018 so hard in the chest he looked like an hourglass for 0.1 seconds, and then somehow got 20% more obese. Hans' father rolled into Hans' room and suplexed Hans. Walk up, it's time for school. He then threw Hans at the school and he landed perfectly in his chair. Okay, right vest. He then threw a pancake in the air and squeezed syrup on it, and it propelled all the way to the school and landed in Hans' mouth. Since the first grade was eradicated, Hans was moved up to 2nd grade, and Bogart 2018 was already there. The teacher was emo. Sup, nerd? The teacher thought he was cool as if his head didn't look like a squash. We're gonna learn how to take it to the man. The whole class but Hans cheered.
Hey, why aren't you cheering for me, the greatest philosopher of all time?
The teacher had an IQ of 46 and thought he invented the word poo.
What cheer?
Hans had no idea what cheering was.
In his class, this is what the man does. He make you a hungry greatness, baby.
So then you don't question him. A kid then raised his hand to ask a question.
Oh, looks like we got a free thinker.
He then punched the kid in the face.
Got any questions now?
The kid's skull was fractured and a bit of his skull impaled his brain.
Anyone else got any questions?
Then the kid in the back got up.
I got one.
The teacher was furious and was about to say something, but the kid interrupted.
You're the man.
All the kids then looked at the teacher with a blank, soulless expression.
No, don't listen to him. He shut up.
Then all the kids slowly got up while taking out swords.
No, stop it right now.
The kids then started slowly approaching the teacher while repeatedly simultaneously chanting,
"Ooh, condemning for Robinson, I don't belong, no, no."
The teacher's voice was drowned out by the chanting. He then got out a grenade launcher and desperately tried to stop the kids, but someone replaced the grenades with squeaky toys.
"Ooh, condemning for Robinson, I belong."
The squeaky toys were ineffective as the horde surrounded the teacher. They engulfed him while chanting,
"No!"
They then stepped back and all that was left was a small stain of blood on the floor. Then they went back to their seats like nothing happened.
"Hi, class, I'm your sub."
A teacher came in and yelled,
"Your teacher ain't feeling too good or something, so I'm your teacher for today."
This maniac broke down the door with 2 pieces of bread with blood and organs between the 2 slices.
"I'm gonna turn the sub into a Subway sandwich."
The teacher was appalled.
"What?"
He then charged at the teacher but slipped on dog diarrhea and died.
"Well, that just happened."
The teacher declared in a humorous tone, but no one laughed except the teacher, who laughed for 400 minutes straight.
"It's lunchtime."
The teacher then did a backflip out the window as a 900-pound lunch lady came in. Alright, who's first? Of course, Bogart to a downy tea rolled over and demanded several tons of food.
"Oh, it's that boy."
Everyone then laughed, but Bogart to a downy tea was not having it.
"That's it."
He then took out 2 boxing gloves and began viciously beating 4 kids, killing them.
"Calm down, calm down."
The lunch lady tried to stop his rap, but it was highly ineffective. In response, Bogart to a downy tea decapitated the lunch lady.
"Do not."
Bogart to a downy tea did his war crime. He wasn't playing around.
"Hey, fat boy."
The kid said while secretly putting a broccoli behind him.
"You paid for that."
Then Bugatti 2018 charged towards him, but the kid dodged last second, and Bugatti 2018 accidentally ate the broccoli.
I had to something healthy.
He then had a seizure and a brick fell on his head and he passed out, attempting to make everyone think he was cool, Hans said.
Well, he's gonna feel that in the morning.
All the kids were disgusted. Too far, Hans! Too far! He then became the most hated kid in the school for this offensive joke, as if half the school wasn't racist and severely fatphobic.
The substitute teacher then front flipped back into the classroom. When she saw the 5 new dead bodies, they were surprised. What's going on?
None of the kids just looked at the teacher.
Hans made fun of that fat kid.
The teacher was so mad they did cartwheels around the room.
Everyone was at dinner, including Bugatti 2018, who recovered from his injuries.
So Hans, did anything bad happen at school today?
Hans explained the teacher was killed in the lung.
Hans' father banged his hands on the table.
No, I don't care about that. I mean, did you do anything bad? I can't have the town thinking I'm a bad dad. Then I can't get the father-son discount on beer. That's the only reason I got you.
Hans' mother interrupted.
I thought he was a mister. Don't you get to disc Hans' mother in the face, and she flew out of her chair and onto the counter, destroying several priceless family heirlooms. Shut it, I'm always right.
Bugatti 2018 interrupted.
Don't you get the discount from me?
Hans' father retorted.
No, everyone knows I hate you. Anyways, Hans.
Bugatti 2018 interrupted again.
He made fun of me at school.
Hans' father did the worm and then said,
so what, fatty?
Hans was scared.
He's the most hated kid in school now.
Bugatti 2018 continued. Then Hans' father in anger threw a concrete ball at Hans, but it missed and bounced off the wall and landed on Hans' father's last beer.
No!
Hans' father was devastated.
First you ruined my street cred, then you ruined my beer.
Well, guess what Hansi say while doing jazz hands? I'm gonna ruin your legs. He then got out a warhammer and tried to smash Hans' legs, but he had 2 perception and missed, so it hit his head instead, and he passed out. Hans' father forgot about all this the next morning. Chapter 6.
Sprout the cat, the feline fiend.
It was Hans' birthday and he was now 7 years old. He had sprouted up from his younger self for sure.
Happy birthday.
His mother front flipped into the living room saying this while Hans' father was reading the newspaper about beer.
Shut your mama up.
He then threw 10,000 marks at Hans as payment.
Mama, go bye-bye.
He then lit a match and threw it in a gasoline canister while throwing it at Hans' mother, and she flew far in the distance and there was a twinkle in the sky.
Alright, Hans, since you're 7, I'ma beat you for 7 hours.
Hans' father then got out his plutonium boxing gloves and began approaching Hans.
No, Hans pleaded for his father to not do it.
But did that change his mind? No, it didn't.
Oh, no, it didn't. Did it. Oh, no, it didn't. Did it. Oh, no, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Hans' father had finally stopped beating Hans, and Hans' mother landed in the kitchen. Make me food, woman, Hans' father said as he threw a brick at Hans' mom. Oh yeah, make something for Hans too, I guess. Bugatti 2018 was now furious. What about me? Hans' father then turned his gaze upon Bugatti 2018. You need a diet anyway, fat boy. Hans' father then slapped Bugatti 2018's fat off. Now I'm the skinny one. Hans' father then threw a fat pill into Bugatti 2018's mouth and he became obese again. I was just about to give you buff pills and 1,000,000 marks, but since you had to brag, you fat now. At dinner, Hans' mother had made a single stinky cake slice for Hans, a beer cake for Hans' father, and beer-infused ham as well, and made Bugatti 2018 a half-eaten leaf since he was on a diet, and she ate fried pig brains herself. Where's my poop sauce? Bugatti 2018 usually got poop sauce along with his dinner. Nah, homie, you too fat. Hans' mother retorted, poop sauce. Hans' father questioned, poop sauce. He'd have bashed his fists on the table. How much does it cost? Hans' father was very angry. 2 cents. Hans' father's jaw dropped. You mean to tell me you're taking 2 cents out of my beer budget for poop sauce? Hans' mother was offended. It's not your beer budget, it's our budget. You're forgetting I'm the only one with a job here. Plus your beer takes up 95% of our income. Hans' father's head turned purple. Women aren't supposed to be slaves. You got a problem with that. Hans' mother threw a 7-ton bowling ball at Hans' mother, but of course it missed and hit Hans. Yeah, I do. Hans' father then punched her in the face. She was quiet after that. Now Bugatti 2018, said Hans' father while turning towards Bugatti 2018. Bugatti 2018 got offended and punched the coconut tree, and a coconut fell on Hans' father's head. He passed out. Time for presents. They were in the living room. They were in the living room except Hans' father, who was still passed out on the floor while saliva was oozing out of his mouth. Open mine first, screamed Bugatti 2018. He then threw a present at Hans. I liked Brie. When he opened the present, a giant boxing glove popped out. He punched Hans. Everyone laughed at Hans. Next present. Hans' mother said in a deep, manly voice, I like Brie.
When he opened the present, a giant boxing glove popped out and punched Hans. Ha 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 ha! Everyone laughed at Hans. Next present, Hans' mother said in a deep, manly voice, "I like Pre." When he opened the present, a giant boxing glove popped out and punched Hans. Ha 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 ha! Everyone laughed at Hans. Next present, Hans' mother said in a deep, manly voice, "I like Pre." When he opened the present, a giant boxing glove popped out and punched Hans. Ha 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 ha! Everyone laughed at Hans. Next present.
Hans' mother said in a deep, manly voice. He then threw Hans the only non-present. I like present. When he opened the box, there was exactly what he wanted for his birthday, the golden taco of amazement. And he was the happiest he was ever in his entire life. Oops, that one was for Bugatti 218, said Hans' mother said. Then Bugatti 218 snatched it out of Hans' hands and said, I don't like it. He then threw it out the window where it fell in a conveniently placed wood chipper and it was destroyed. Next present. Hans' mother said in a deep, manly voice. No, I don't think I will, said Hans. What? And started strangling Hans. Why won't you open the present? Why? He didn't get a word in. Then all of a sudden Hans farted and it activated the prank present and the boxing glove punched Hans' mother and she was decapitated. I will heal you, medic from the game team Fortress 2 said while walking in the room. He then healed Hans' mother and ran away. Well, I think we all learned a valuable lesson. Hans' mother said while crossing her arms and smugly smiling. Then all of a sudden Hans' father woke up and violently charged like a zombie towards Hans' mother. No, stop it. Father then gave Hans' mother a nice bouquet of flowers and they pranced off into the night. Franz was at school in 2nd grade, and the teacher moonwalked into the classroom. Okay, class, today we gonna be learning about the French Revolution. The teacher yelled. One of the kids in response said this, I ain't listening about no bread heads. The teacher was now furious. All right, Mr. Smarty Brain, how about you teach the class? The kid got up proudly from their desk and went to the front of the class. All right, we learned about the German Revolution. The teacher got mad. That ain't a thing. The kid then threw a ninja star at the teacher, decapitating them. It is now. Three risked the room and began spreading revolutionary ideas, excluding Hans and Bugatti 218. By this point, half of the school was pro-revolution and half was pro-monarchy. Many of the teachers were held as PLUs. The pro-revolutionists sent representatives to meet with PM. We demand complete control of the school governmental system. We will no longer be oppressed by its tyrannical rule. The pro-revolutionists said. In response, Henry Stocken, the elected school leader, said, we cannot allow division within our ranks. Our resources will be exhausted. Think about that now. The pro-revolutionist was very angry. Listen here, buddy. Either you give us complete authority or we'll take it ourselves. Stockton was worried. In response, he shot the representative. We would later regret this as it would be used as propaganda. War, we declare war, yelled the representatives as they ran off, marking the beginning of the Königsberg Elementary Revolutionary Civil War.
Both sides had 3 battalions, which made 6 divisions, and each division had 40 soldiers. The pro-monarchist divisions consisted of the 9th Infantry Battalion, 1st King's Guard Battalion Division, and the 41st Artillery Battalion. The pro-revolutions had less modern weaponry, however their morale was their real upside. Their battalions consisted of the 6th Infantry Brigade, the 7th Infantry Battalion, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Special Division, consisting of the school's strongest children who were like brutes. Not to mention the reinforcements they would receive after other socialists would come to their aid. This would mark the creation of the 19th Reserve Battalion. The pro-monarchist capital was Prince Fatoy Office and the pro-revolutionaries People's Red Gymnasium. This is a depicted map of the situation. 1 month into the war, both sides had built steady defensives. General Fartsack of the monarchists had ordered a full push through the main hall, which was significantly less defended than other fronts. The monarchists were able to push far due to machine gun superiority. However, they were ambushed halfway through the lunchroom and the courtyard during the ambush. General Mansky of the pro-revolutionists had begun firing the machine gun, which was previously unused as they had little ammo. This pushed the royalists back to their trench and in a panic were defenseless from the monarchist offensive. The main hall is now 3/4 taken by the revolutionists, allowing them to provide support on other fronts. However, the remaining main hall was quickly defended by monarchists, preventing further advancements. After the attack by the revolutionists, General Fartsack was demoted to officer and was quickly replaced by General Pepper, whose military tactics were far superior as they were the school's history teacher. However, they were very angry and ready for revenge against the revolutionists. This was used to G. Mansky's advantage. He decided to quickly pose a fake invasion of the lunchroom, using his army's weakest troops. Of course, they were mowed down by royalist machine guns, and then vengeful General Pepper began a full-scale invasion of the lunchroom front. However, what he didn't know is that General Mansky had stationed much of his army on both sides of the lunchroom exit. Once the royalist army had rammed through, they were shot on both sides. There were too many royalists storming the exit, and in the confusion, they kept storming without them realizing, and by the time they realized it was too late as they were all charging. Those who stopped or tried to run back were stampeded, forcing many of them to continue charging.
Eventually, the remaining royalists had organized at the back of the kitchen and killed many of the revolutionaries. However, General Mansky had shot a cannon across the hall into the kitchen, killing the remaining royalist. Then quickly the revolutionaries charged the lunchroom, and a panicked General Pepper ordered the machine gunners to unload upon the crowd. However, the revolutionaries began charging from the lunchroom exit and main hall, and were able to storm the lunchroom successfully, taking it fully. Luckily for the royalists, they had artillery, so they shot it, trying to kill the charging revolutionaries. However, it just collapsed the ceiling, blocking the entrance to the briefing room. The offensive was stopped for now, but the revolutionaries now had control of the lunchroom and almost the whole main hall. Afterwards, General Pepper was demoted and school president. Stockton desperately promoted Officer Fartbar, the general who wasn't the brightest. However, Officer Fartsack gave a lot of advice as he read some history books and practically was general again, as General Fartbar just sat on the side and let him do his thing. Big Fat, the leader of the revolution, had a massive ego and didn't like anyone becoming cooler than him, which is exactly what General Mansky has done, so he had them gingered and replaced them with General Bunglad, who had scored the school's lowest IQ. Big Fat did this, so the next general couldn't become cooler than him. He also rewrote previous records of Bunglad's IQ test to make him seem like a genius, which greatly improved morale. Since General Bunglad generally wasn't very smart, he thought bigger army meant better attack, so he ordered the entire army to charge the courtyard. Luckily, before General Fartbar did the same thing, Officer Fartsack got the half of the army to defend the front. Many of the revolutionaries were mowed down, and those remaining were sniped. However, General Bunglad didn't give up, so he picked up a sword by the blade and charged with a small group of remaining revolutionaries. They were shredded instantly, and now 3/4 of the revolution's army was gone. So Officer Fartsack has got the army to fully charge the courtyard, and they were able to fully take it. They also took the poop house and the secondary barracks. However, the revolutionaries quickly dug trenches throughout the hall, successfully defending the main hall and half of the eastern part of the school. By now, both the 7th Infantry Battalion and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th Special Division of the Revolutionists were wiped out, and the 6th Infantry Brigade only had 2 divisions left, having only 65 troops left. Many had died during the onslaught, and afterward half of the survivors died of diarrhea as the monarchists had taken the poop house.
27 of the 65 remaining troops were in medbay and supplies were low. However, the monarchists had lost the 1st King's Guard Division, and the 9th Infantry Battalion had lost 2 of its divisions. The 41st Artillery Battalion was of no use, so many of its soldiers were liquidated into the 9th Infantry Battalion. They utilized dead revolutionists' weaponry and ammunition for the relocated troops. The monarchists had a total of 14,952 of them being from the Artillery Battalion, meaning they were less experienced in hands-on combat. The monarchists may have had the manpower, however, remaining troops of the revolutionists were highly experienced. After the major loss, leader Big Fat decapitated General Bunglad and chose Officer Morgan as the new general. Officer Morgan was single-handedly responsible for the surprise defensive during the monarchist raid, as the remaining troops ignored General Bunglad after witnessing him crying in a corner while peeing his pants and sucking his thumb.
After a few days of no one moving, the anxious officer, Fartsack, was getting bored and underestimated the strength of General Morgan's army. He decided a large push through the lunchroom and a very small push through the secondary hallway. Many of the troops of pushing through the secondary hallway were the worst troops and were almost instantly mowed down by snipers, with revolutionists facing minimal casualties. This allowed an ambush of the lunchroom push. As General Fartbar witnessed the oncoming ambush, he tried to warn Officer Fartsack. Officer, they're ambushing you. Officer Fartsack got off his lawn chair and took off his mud mask. First of all, that's general to you, you ungrateful brat, and secondly, I'm relaxing. Fartsack yelled. Fartbar tried to get a word in. Fartsack then interrupted. Nope, no buts. Fartsack then ordered some nearby troops to shoot off Fartbar's butt, which they did. As they were distracted, the ambush was successful. In a panic, Fartsack got on the machine gun and unloaded bullets. However, it killed 7 monarchists and only 1 revolutionist before he ran out of ammo. He then ran to the library and hid. Many monarchist troops were now stressed on the main hall and courtyard front with little machine gun ammo, which was a main advantage. They now had to rely on experience. After hearing what happened to General Fartbar, President Stockton shot Officer Fartsack and decided to become general himself, as giving Dr. Pepper the general position again was out of the question. Luckily, President Stockton was a nerd and in his spare time read the Nacho Pica War Analysis 24/7. The monarchists had gone from 14,900 to 73 troops since yesterday, and the revolutionists 65 to 53. At the same time, General Morgan had ordered an advance and retook the secondary hallway, allowing them to reclaim their old trench.
By now, the monarchists were losing control of the main hallway and the courtyard. However, Stockton had a plan. The monarchists during the war had a large supply of explosives, however, had barely used them. So if he could lure the revolutionists to the supply room, someone could sacrifice themselves and explode most of the revolutionist army, making them rely on injured troops, which would allow a major advance through the school. To not raise suspicion, Stockton had ordered half of the troops away from the main hallway front. This would allow the monarchists to push through but not think it's a trap. He also ordered an offensive in the principal hall so he could trap the revolutionists in the southern half of the school. Sure enough, the revolutionists stormed the main hall and went for the monarchist supplies, looking to gain an advantage. It was all going according to plan, however. Stockton had made a mistake. The person who was doing the sacrifice in the library wasn't the brightest and activated the explosives too early, only killing 23 revolutionary troops. Many of the supplies actually survived the explosion, and remaining troops had gotten the monarchist advanced weapons as well, with a massive cache of ammo. The revolutionists had gone from 53 to 27 troops, and the monarchists 73 to 41. Both sides had faced heavy casualties. However, the revolutionaries had to rely on injured troops. General Morgan had one chance to win the tide of the war. Knowing an advance sweep would be impossible, he slowly retreated back to the gym, allowing a steady defensive to be built with the new supplies. However, Stockton theorized their quick advancement was a trick and stopped halfway through. Both sides were now in a stalemate, waiting for one to invade. After a long stalemate, Hans was getting bored. He then heard a noise. What is that? A monarchist said. Just then Hans fought a punch through the wall, collapsing half of the school, killing almost all of the monarchy. We won! General Morgan yelled, but then someone threw a bottle of beer at his head. What? You won? It was Hans' father. He then strangled General Morgan. I won, I'm the best. Hans' father had no idea what was going on, but his ego was damaged after Morgan's comment. Fire! Leo Big Fat said that all of the revolutionists began firing at Hans' father. Hey, that's not very nice. Hans' father said as his arm was falling apart from the storm of bullets. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All the revolutionists said at the same time, well, I ate. Hans' father then got out a quadruple barrel missile minigun and began killing everything. I won. The only ones left alive in the chaos were Hans and Bugatti 2018. They then all went home and had dinner. How was school today?
We were in a brutal war for months. I saw people's heads get turned in bits everywhere. I saw 3-year-olds get shredded into nothing in seconds. We had to eat bread that was as hard as bricks. You tell me how school was. Bugatti 2018 yelled, oh, boys will be boys. Hans' mother said that everyone except Bugatti 2018 laughed for 12 hours straight. In the morning, the family was minding their own business when all of a sudden writer Lucas Charles Edmonds broke into their house and held them at gunpoint to read this script. He handed them a burger wrapper with writing on it. Well, I don't feel like it. Bugatti 2018 said he then shot Bugatti 2018 in the fact he wasn't playing around. Read the script. Lucas wasn't very happy, Hans' family then did the script. Get the hell up already, Hans. Hans turned to see his mother at the door. You heard me. And Hans ran past his mother at the door. Slow down now. We must go to the church today, Hans. Yes, father. I know you hate it when your son is happy, so I cooked up something maybe you could enjoy. Cases Patzel. Hans already knew what she was talking about. Oh, would you just leave this damn home? His father looked at the young Hans and stopped yelling inside and leaned back into his chair. Try not to make a mess of yourself. We must go to church. When Lucas looked away, Hans' father backflipped and landed on a knife which flipped in the air and stabbed Lucas through the head. Oh no! Lucas then ran away. Strangely, Hans would remember this as a real memory instead of acting beyond the fart. Chapter 7, Middle of the Road. By this point, Hans was 12 years old and was in middle school at Fred's awesome, terrific secondary education, otherwise known as ALT education. At the moment, he was in gym class. Our class yelled gym teacher Fungus Dung, who was very obtuse. Today, you're gonna get buff like me! He then flexed his arm muscles. When he did, a layer of fat emerged from his stomach, which was previously held back by his arms. You ain't buff! The cool kid said, what you just say? The teacher hollered as he tried to smack the kid, however, he couldn't reach him from his wheelchair. You're mean! The gym teacher then bawled his eyes out but stopped after eating 43 Twinkies. It like, first we gonna do the greasy green bean exercise. He then farted and barely raised his arm. Gasp, gasp, now gasp, gasp. I need another donut for that. He then pointed at Hans. You, the ugly one, go fetch me a donut. Hans went to buy one. Hey, I just need one. A donut? The cashier looked at him and was confused. Donut? What you talking about, boy? Hans had no idea either. For Fungus Done? The cashier then got furious. What, that guy? He then slammed his fist on the table. That fat emo laddie came in here and asked if he could have food because he hadn't eaten in 5 days.
Like, boy, I think you ate enough. He then went on a 3-hour-long rant about Fungus Done.
Tell you what, give him this and tell him it's that poop nut or whatever it was. He handed Hans diarrhea with a nut in it. Hans brought it back to the gym teacher. Took you long enough, I'm starving. And I have a disability, so I need extra food. He then looked at what Hans brought back. What is this? Fungus Done wasn't very happy. Donut! Hans' response only angered the gym teacher. Donut! You do not call that a donut, bucko! He then put on a cowboy hat. I'm about to brawl! He then tried to get out of his wheelchair but fell into the spike pit and died. Okay, class was 20 poop. Poop. The math teacher was teaching poop to bro 3. A 1, 2 fat guy in a shoe 8, I count 8. The math teacher was ecstatic. Yes, you got it right! Then all of a sudden, a strange German man with a square mustache walked from dark closet. Right, more like Rick. Hans' eyes widened. No, Hans said, no! The German man was now angry. What did you just say, young man? Hans was not having it. Wanna go get a potty cool. Hans then self-flexed the German man. Hey, no fighting. The math teacher yelled. She then pressed the button, and all the kids began rushing towards Hans, ready to beat him to a pole. Hans then acted like he was cool, but when he tried to karate chop Bobo, it did not end well. After math class, Hans slowly waddled to science when his beaten and almost completely dead body finally arrived at the class. 5 minutes late, the teacher was nowhere to be found. Guys, I don't know about this, said Wombo Thumb. Then all of a sudden a cage fell on the kids, trapping them. Then the teacher twirled in while manically laughing. You're falling from a trap, now you're gonna pay the price. She then took out a quantum harmonizer and threatened to put it in their photonic resonation chamber. Stop this madness, said great-grandma Gertrude as she wheeled into the room. What are you gonna do about it, Grandma? Gertrude then began humming while sitting crisscross applesauce. What the science teacher said as Gertrude began floating. I don't think so. The science teacher then threw a piece of poop at great-grandma Gertrude and her immune system was completely annihilated. Great-grandma Gertrude let out an agonizing yell as she fell to the floor and shriveled into diarrhea. Anyone else wanna try something? Then a grown man with sunglasses and a tuxedo behind the science teacher pointed a gun to the back of her head. Yes, he said in a Russian accent while pulling the trigger. However, what he didn't know is that the science teacher had the lead brain purr. You think that's gone? The teacher then died from lead poisoning. Another day, another victory for the OG. The man said as he pranced away, leaving the children.
He turned bloody in her sword and beheaded the child.
It also at the same time broke open the cage and the children began to rush out. Oops, sorry, broke your toy. Then before they could escape, he patched up the hole super fast. Hans was the only one who got out before he did this.
Well, good job, well done, said the guy as he walked out of the science class. He then put 5029 locks on the door and put reinforced steel over it. He also put wall in front of it and painted it to look like the rest of the wall.
Hans was at recess and he tried to get on the monkey bars when 5 bully kids came out and stopped him. It's me, Bully Red, said one of them. And then me, Bully Green, said another. And then me, Bully Yellow, and the fat one came. And me, Bully Blue. All the bullies turned towards Bully Blue. Go away, nobody likes you, Bully Blue. Then all the bullies ripped off the limbs of Bully Blue and ate them. Now where'd that nerd go? Hans was trying to sneak to the monkey bars. Monkeys attack! Bully Yellow yelled. Then all of a sudden, monkeys began attacking. But luckily, Hans had a banana, so he threw it into the Pompeii volcano and all the monkeys jumped in. What, no! Bully Yellow said, but then Bully Red Green stepped in. Don't worry, I got this! Then the grammar kid came. Actually, you don't physically own the word this. He then ran away, and Bully Yellow's brain exploded. I guess it's up to me, said Bully Red. And before the grammar kid came, he threw a banana on the floor, and the grammar kid slipped and died. I'm a cha-cha, Bully Red said as he began chasing Hans. Hans said, think fast or else he would be crazy on. Bully Red said as he jumped towards Hans, but luckily Hans had expert monkey skills, so he got on the monkey bars and ate a chocolate bar. Hey, give me that! Bully Blue yelled, I don't think so, girlfriend. Hans said, but then Bully Red ripped the monkey bars out of the ground and began tipping it over towards him. Got you now, Poopo! Luckily Hans had a vial of fluoroautomonic acid, so he opened it and poured on Bully Red, who then died. Hans jumped to the floor in sigh of relief. Hey, that was quite a display of amazement, said some kid named Carl. Then Hans said, poop, XFTK, said Hans. Carl was confused. What? At dinner, Hans' father was eating pig. I don't want dinner! He then threw it across the room. Hans was in a class called Book with Carl. So today we gotta read Beyond the Wire. The teacher said, oh no you don't, said Time Travel Willie as he launched through the door and punched the teacher into oblivion. Then time rewinded and went back to normal. So today we gotta read, what was it again? The teacher tried to remember the book they were supposed to read. I think someone stole my book, so who was it?
He tried to say something, but the teacher threw a Pokeball at them and they died. Raise your hand! Then Bulgity Tweedody Teen got flashbacks. No! He then flipped over his desk and charged towards the teacher, but slipped in poop juice and passed out. If no one fesses up, it's gonna get nasty up in here. A kid raised his hand. You! The teacher yelled, I done thing! Before she could finish, the teacher threw something comedical at the kid and they died. Women aren't allowed to talk in my class! The teacher then bashed his head against the table. I'm getting mad, I'm getting angry! They then threw a boulder at a baby, mad like mutiny of short destruction. The kid said, shut your pump up, nerd! The teacher was about to brutally assault the child, but thought of an idea. Wait a momento. The teacher pondered while playing hopscotch. You got a smart brain, so find my book. The teacher then pointed a poop gun at the kid. You got 5 seconds. 5 seconds later, 5 extra seconds. The teacher was desperate. What you gonna do if I don't? Said the smart kid smugly. He clearly had an advantage here. If you don't, The smart kid then said, pay me $20, maybe that'll jog my memory. The teacher was now mad. What? I am your teacher, you must respect me! The kid was unfazed. That's it. The teacher pointed to the word it, which was painted on the wall. Alright, that's all we're learning in class today, cause this ugly of poop won't tell me anything. Then a 3,000-pound fat guy in a wheelchair came. Acutely, they said something, so that would qualify. The teacher that died for being wrong. Alright, I'm gonna teach dog class now, said the fat guy. So if you pick a Ori in half and put them together, you get double stuff. The children had no idea what he was talking about. Why are you looking at me like that, Gasper? You making fun of me? He then jumped his wheelchair up and down. You fatphobic, all of you, why can you just be nice to us? He then pulled out a bazooka. I'm gonna shoot you with explodey because it's only fair since you were fatphobic. He then shot the bazooka, however, luckily Hans had explosive experts, so he defused the rocket. Oh my goodness, why did you do that? He then sighed, and as he did, Twinkie cream flew out of his mouth. Fine, I'll teach you, ungrateful brat. One more thing.
brat. Ethan gulped 3 bratwursts in 1 bite. So if you order Malte's not and it'll say you plus size and you get discounts. The kids had no idea what McDonald's is or McDonald's was. Oh my, so rude, I should get like all of you guys snacks because you're so mean. Then rummaged through their backpack. Apples, pears, you don't got anything, dogs. Oh my, so inconsiderate, don't you know I'm diabetic, I need surgery. Then brainless Maximus Ubu was interrupted. Apples have sugar. Then Fatty Patty got mad. Excuse me, are you fat shaming? He then smacked Brainus Maximus.
Ooblis, but this was a mistake. Oh, my pinky, that's me! Said the fat after he punched him, then Brainus Maximus Ooblis ripped off his shirt, revealing a 400-pack. Hey, that's fat-phobic! Plus size people can't get buff, so stop it! He then rubbed the buff off Brainus Maximus Ubius. How did you do that? Brainus yelled, because you're racist and fat-phobic and homophobic and xenophobic and white supremacist and Nazi. The fact I didn't even know what half of those words meant. I spent 7 years to get buff and you do that. And the fact I fart blasted Brainus out the window. Anyone else wanna try something? Said the fat, eat this. A kid said as he threw a broccoli at the fat, trying to land it in his mouth. But the fat had broccoli shield, so it was ineffective. That's it you get now. A fat charged at the kid, but his wheelchair slipped through the rotting ice cream and the fat died. We did it, we won. Another kid said, what do you mean we? The kid who threw the broccoli said, we peep. Said all the kids then peed molten lava on the broccoli kid, and he died of stage 7 poop disease. As Hans and the other kids came into the classroom, the teacher saw Hans. Oh, it's you! It was the teacher who schooled him when he was a young baby. The ugly baby! Tell me, do you remember anything from my lesson? I was confused as the lesson was when he was a baby. No, the teacher then got so mad that a blood vessel in their brain popped and they died. Hans and Carl were at a lunch table when Bertie Oxoppin's peer came over, otherwise known as Poop. Hans and Carl said nothing. I said hi. She then flipped over the lunch table. Don't you know how to treat a lady? Carl was surprised. You're a woman. Poop had a large beard and was bald. What did you just say? Poop then strangled Carl. I thought I'd go so crazy like a moon baboon. As a fat guy in a tuxedo came over. That's copyright. You can't say that. After he said that a strange German man with a square mustache came over. Copyright, you say? Then all of a sudden millions of German soldiers began storming the building and killing everything, including the school, because they stabbed it and died. Like cat killed a
What's going on? Who said they let go of Kong's fear and tried to run away when a stray bullet flew and knocked over a piece of fossil diorama, which fell on a trampoline, and it bounced and hit a basketball, and the basketball fell on a seesaw, which launched in the air and knocked over a grenade, which exploded and flung a vial of gangrene, which fell in Mr. Poopin's mouth, and he choked and fell over. And he conveniently landed on the nuke button, and the nuke launched but barely and fell back down, but didn't explode, and it scared some dude using a trebuchet, and it launched and went through the school roof and hit a spoon, and the spoon flew through the air and hit Poop's left eyes. Third eyelash. Well, that was a close one. Then a meteor fell and killed Poop and did no damage to anything else. What are we gonna do? Some kid said, and then the cool baby came. They then tried to do a backflip but died because they didn't put enough skill points into agility. Guess what? Said Hans blasted the entire German army paladin dance. Right after he said, the crazy diarrhea started flying through the roof like artillery and began destroying everything, killing over half of world's population. Oopsie, that was a little bit too crazy, said Hans. Stop this! This is madness! Said a German soldier. No! This is Sparta! Then everyone looked at Hans and was angry. What did you just say? Hans was so scared that he farted that everyone beat Hans with poop swords. Oopsie, you talentless pieces of human garbage and wastes of space. Me, yes, me, the one and only amazing, fabulous, awesome, renowned, terrific, whoopa poopa. Said the teacher, first you gotta be the actor, you gotta do crazy stuff. He continued, when I say crazy, I say crazy, 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 whoa! They then began dancing while firing his minigun for 2 hours straight. Now let's get to the lesson. By this point, almost the entire school was dead, and the school could now collapse at any moment. We're gonna act cleaning the music. Ow! Oh, he said musical in an ugly singing voice. Okay, so basically take this broom and clean stuff and clean the room there. That's the play now, work. All his kids had left or were dead at this point, so he was talking to no one. Oh, what's that? What? He then began punching the air. Take that, you friggin' fat poop! He then fell through one of the massive holes caused by the minigun and fell through 3 stories, and then the school collapsed on him and he died. Chapter 8, Big Boy Pants. Hans was now in Big Boy, or as nerds call it, high school, and he was now a big boy and was in 12th grade, the last before man mode. What wacky hijinks will he get into now? Ooh, know you? It's Oktoberfest, yelled the teacher as they charged headfirst through the walls. So today we gonna learn about ABCs. Then a kid with an abnormally large brain said, we already learned that.
Then the teacher threw a beer at the kid.
and it landed in their mouth, and they got extremely unhealthy drunk, and half of their brain cells exploded. They were now crazy rage. Now, as I said, it's time for the ABCs, said the teacher. Get up! Said crazy rage. No, not yet. First, there's A and B. The teacher was a kind of mad. The teacher was not very happy. No, not yet. Then it's C, and what's after C? The teacher waited their response. ICUP. Said crazy rage. You making me mad, kid. Teacher was apparently getting mad. Mad lad. Saying crazy rage began doing mad libs super fast. But the teacher wasn't having it. They threw another beer at crazy rage, but they blocked it. Not this time, Mr. Poopy. Said crazy rage while doing a superhero pose. I am not poopy. In fact, I stopped pooping my pants. 3 to oops, there goes my streak. The teacher was then very sad, and his mommy came and cleaned him, and he was happy again. Now, as I was saying, ABC's next is, what was it again? The teacher pondered while doing the Kazatsky kick. You know what? Forget it, I'ma teach you how to count. He then ripped off a kid's hand and counted the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nien Tyen. 1, 2. Couch potato, fat guy in a shoe. Poop, test time. He then handed Hans and everyone else a 492-page test, and each question asked to write the ABCs and count to 1,000. And there was barely any writing room. If you get one wrong, you go back to first grade. And it didn't help that the teacher could barely keep up with the ABCs, let alone counting to 10 correctly. The baby said. They then scribbled gibberish across the papers and turned it in. Oh, let's see. Boring. Yeah, you probably did it right. You get an A. The teacher said. Then all the other kids did the same and got A's, except the super smart kid who actually did every question correctly done. They said, and the teacher looked at them as was so angry, they got a massive underbite. What? You took too long, let me see that! They snatched it out of their hands and saw that it wasn't scribbles. The other kids worked so hard, and you wretched ugly. You get F, go back to first grade. The teacher tell, please, no, please. The kid pleaded, oh, sorry, Sunday, Bob. They then pulled their lever, and the kid was flung to the elementary school where they were forced to begin school again from first grade. And if they even got one question wrong in anything at any time, they get sent back to first grade again. And every time the questions got more frequent and harder. Now class, since you were all so good scores, we were gonna have a pizza party. Then all the kids yelled with glee, expect Hans who wanted rat soup. But someone just had to get a bad score, so we ain't gonna have it. Then all the kids got sad. But don't look at me, I'm not the one who ruined everything. The teacher said, now I guess I'm just gonna have to eat this pizza in front of all of you. Pizza for me, no for you. All the kids were angry except Hans, who was eating rat soup. Excuse me, why aren't you sad? The teacher yelled at Hans, but he said nothing. Hey, I'm eating pizza and you're not. Hans just kept eating rat soup. Grr, stop being happy. The teacher then took the rat soup. Ooh, look, I got your soup. What you gonna do about it? The teacher proudly declared, I don't know. Hans said, oh, you don't care, huh? The teacher retorted, but Hans said nothing. Well, guess you won't care if I eat this. He then started eating it. So, he then spit it out. You, what is that? Demanded the teacher. Rat soup, responded Hans. What? Rat soup? You made me eat rat soup? Yep, this going on your record. Go to the principal's office. No! Yelled the teacher. What if I don't want to? Said Hans. Oh, you don't want to. You don't want to. Yelled the teacher while slamming his hands on Hans' desk. Well, I guess you don't gotta go then. Then the teacher went to the front of the room. Alright, lastly for today, we're gonna invent a font. The teacher said, what is a font? None of the kids had any idea what a font is, neither did the teacher. Don't know what a font is. That's it, F. The teacher then pushed the button and a trapdoor opened underneath the kid and fell into the pit of shame, and the trapdoor closed back up. Anyone else have any objections? Said the teacher. Then some random lawyer broke down the door and yelled, objection. The teacher was flabbergasted. Wah. Then the judge banged his hammer repeatedly and said, do not interrupt my court boy. Now let the defendant speak. The teacher peed their pants out of fear. This so-called teacher was reported to have drunk diarrhea juice on September 8th at 9:52 p.m. They then showed a picture for proof, and the jury yelled guilty while ripping their clothes off. What? No, this can't be, said the teacher. This only made the judge more angry. For your crimes, you must be executed. He then took out the guillotine and was about to decapitate the teacher, but then a kid said, wait, we don't have to resort. Then the judge interrupted, him too. Then both the kid and the teacher were decapitated in front of the whole town. Second hour's Hans cooking class. Once they arrived, the teacher was nowhere to be found. No, not again, yelled Hans as he began running for the door, but too many kids were piling into the room. Get out of my way, nerds! Said Bully Purple as they punched Hans across the room. He then landed in a chair that conveniently had super big boy bubblegum on it, and he got stuck. Oh yeah, it's food time!
Said some random kid, I can make a green bean
ain't seeking to survive.
Said the fat as they stuffed the kid into a can and sealed it. Out of nowhere, the teacher exploded out of the oven, killing 5 kids in the process, including the fat.
Did I scare your kids, HM?
All of the remaining students pooped their pants.
That's what I thought, you scaredy cats.
The teacher then began flinging insane rabid cats at the students, killing 2, and everyone flipped over the desks, including hands.
Are you only think that's stopping me?
I don't think so, bub. They then got out the lava cats' hands, began launching them at the kids, and the desks were not effective for protection.
I thought this was cooking class.
Yo, the kid,
I'm cooking you.
they then poured a vat of boiling grease on them.
I'm so super funny,
said the teacher, but all of a sudden Super Funny flew through the window and punched her across the face, fracturing her skull.
Looks like we got an imposter.
It's Super Funny as all the kids cheered. The teacher just laughed.
What's so funny?
Said the teacher, but all of a sudden Super Funny flew through the window and punched her across the face, fracturing her skull.
Looks like we got an imposter.
It's Super Funny as all the kids cheered. The teacher just laughed.
What's so funny?
Said Super Funny worryingly. Said the teacher as they got up inhumanly fast and ran towards Super Funny to try to slap him. But the teacher should have thought about the fact that Super Funny has super punch.
Yeah, take that.
Said Super Funny as threw a bowl of fruit punch at the teacher.
What's this supposed?
As the teacher was distracted, a kid pulled down her pants and she tripped and fell out of a 3-story window and died.
No one can defeat the amazing Super Funny.
Then all the kids looked at Super Funny in disgust.
Super Funny? We thought you were super funny.
Then all the kids brutally ripped off his fingers and limbs one by one slowly until he died. Hans and the rest walked into class and sat down.
Hey, you got any notes?
Carl was asking Hans if he had any notes, which he didn't, because Hans wasn't the smartest considering he had brain damage.
Hey, note this,
said Bully Purple, who overheard the conversation.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
He continued. Oh no, what are we gonna do?
Said Carl.
Yo! Then the teacher busted down the door and it flung to the wall and bounced across the room and gave Bully Purple a fatal head injury.
Alright, class.
The teacher was slurring their words.
Today we're learning about the hook him I dig a backflip up.
And then the teacher stood on his desk.
Lick these, class.
He then tried to do a backflip and broke their neck.
As Hans and the rest sat down, the geography teacher followed the path into the room. Yeah, hi, Douglas, you ever heard of something called geography?
No, didn't think so.
He then walked to the front of class.
Yeah, I was just about to go on vacation, but no, you had to happen. The kids said nothing.
It was gonna be so cool, but no, you guys just had to not know geography.
He continued.
I mean, it's simple. This rocky landed flatland. Got it? A kid then raised their hand.
What could you possibly ask that's so freaking important?
The teacher yelled in response. Was a rock. They said, yo, no, how are you in high school? He then threw a rock at the kid and they chalked on it. There, go and study that. He turned to the rest of the students. Your assignment for the day? Touch the wall or F. Then a kid got up. Oh, fantastic! The teacher then strangled them. When you're in your bed tonight, when you least expect it, I'm going to brutally and mercilessly slaughter your entire family. And then I'm gonna go in there and force feed you their remains. Then all the kids clapped.
Wow, what a great story.
Many of them said, yeah, no need to thank me, really, said the teacher super smugly. I won't, said Hunger at the back of the class. What did you just say? The teacher yelled. Hunger, however, was unfazed. I'm reporting you to principal. The teacher yelled. Hunger, however, was unfazed. So I'm reporting you to principal. The teacher yelled. Hunger, however, was unfazed. It's mustard time, said Hunger as he jumped through the ceiling. The class could hear movement in the ceiling. Well, what's going on? But Hunger busted through the ceiling and landed on the teacher. Yeah, me! Yelled the teacher desperately. Mustard brain! Said Hunger as he injected mustard into the teacher's brain. Yeah! Said the teacher as they fell to the floor. Yeah! They started having a seizure. Mustard brain, mustard brain, mustard brain. All the kids said while laughing, but it didn't last long. Who next? Said Hunger. What do you mean? Carl said, you. Hunger said as he pointed at Carl. What? No, I'm getting out of here. Then almost all the kids grabbed him and held him still. No, let go of me. Carl pleaded. The kids just began chanting. Move, Starbring, move, Starbring. Carl, desperately tried to break free of their grip.
move, star brain, move, star brain. They continued chanting as Hungar slowly approached Carl. No, get away from me, you maniac! Hans watched in horror as Hungar injected 22 liters of mustard directly into his brain. After he finished, the other kids plopped Carl in a chair, and his head sludged back like a plastic bag full of water. His eyes were yellow and bloodshot, yet he was still alive, but looked lifeless. His head was cold and the mustard was slushing around in his head. He now had idiot savant rank 4 perp. Him. Hunger said as he pointed at Hans. The horde then began slowly shuffling towards Hans whilst chanting, move, star brain, move, star brain. Hans didn't have any tricks this time. He was defenseless, and they were getting closer. Move, star brain, move, star brain. Hans' situation seemed hopeless, but luckily before it was too late, some kid took some psycho. Oh yeah! He said as he charged toward the crowd. Go.
Said Hungar, unsurprisingly one skinny weak. A little kid isn't going to do anything to a crowd of 21. They punched the kid across the room. Luckily this gave Hans a chance to escape. Damn! Yelled Hector, one of the members. Him, said Hungar while pointing towards Hector. One of the members locked the door to make sure escape couldn't happen, and they began encircling Hector. But just as they were about to inject mustard into his brain, the skinny kid got up and read a quote written by Aquarius Charlius Edna Usariosha. Psycho makes you do more damage because it makes your bullets more angry. He then began firing a minigun at the crowd. He didn't have much ammo, so he only shot 3 bullets and ran out of ammo. And the crowd continued with their ceremonial ritual. No, stop! They pleaded, but all that could be heard was the chant. Move, star brain, move, star brain. He was never seen again.
Alright class, pop quiz up, said the teacher. What? We haven't learned anything the entire year, said Smarty Pants McGee. Oh yeah, Smarty Pants, well I bet you're lying if you know what they say, said the teacher as they pulled the Rock's 2 flamethrower out of their pocket. Liar, liar, pants on fire! The teacher continued. Nuh-uh, I have super duper ice pants, so you can't do that. Dang it! The teacher then threw the flamethrower across the room and it exploded. Luckily there explosion shield behind everyone's desks. About to pass this test, I'm all about pop music, said some girl with a yellow afro and Barbie pink shoes. No, the test is about sody pop, said some 72-year-old who was held back. Now it's about Papa Poop, said Papa Poop. Wrong, what even is sody pop? It wants pop music, this ain't music class. So it's about me, said Papa Poop. Of course it is. The teacher was slapping Papa Poop so hard their brain turned into poop. They did this because Papa Poop was being a silly goose. Alright, so I'm way too lazy to hand out papers, so I'll just ask the questions up here. The teacher said, alright, what year was Papa Poop born? They asked 159. Said brain chain correct. Now Hans, what year was Papa Poop born? They yelled, 159. The teacher's jaw dropped. How did you know that? How? They then started strangling Hans. Who told you this? How do you know this? They then started brutally beating Hans. Who, why? The teacher then went into a mental breakdown. And you, they said while pointing at Carl's lifeless body, be more active. He then chucked a basketball at Carl and a gallon of mustard spewed out of his mouth. Oh, and now you're making a mess. That's it. Put him in the lobotomy chamber. Right after the teacher said that 5 guards came in and restrained Carl and brought him to the lobotomy chamber for 42 hours. Came out a different man. Alright, question 2.
The teacher pulled a clipboard out of the air and looked at it. What is Papa Boomer's catchphrase? Then Brain Chain was about to scream, war never changes. However, kids said, no more poop, kids. And they threw a spear impaling the teacher, but they survived. The teacher came into the field. Alright, so the school permanently removed lunch because some kids said poop, and that was very offensive. So now you're gonna go in the coal mine. He then took out a pickaxe. So all you got to is when you see a rock to swabs. The pickaxe flew out of his hand, flew in the sky into the lobotomy chamber, and kicked Carl's head, causing 7 more pain. Epic fail! Said some 32-4-pound 5-year-old in a wheelchair. I may have failed, but at least I wasn't an accident, said the teacher in retort. Then all the kids yelled, "Boo, roosted!" while taking out flamethrowers and running towards the fat kid. "Oh, dark, our friend," said the fat kid. They then activated their jetpack and flew around while throwing dynamite at the kids blew. Bombing raw, boom, many of the kids had died. That's what you get for making fun of me, the fat said as they landed. But little did they know this was a trap. The fat landed on a sticky poop pad, which he couldn't escape from. No! Desperately yelled the fat as many of the kids approached. "You're inferring now, Buster," one of them said, but then they heard a beeping sound. "You didn't let me finish," said the fat. Novus Super Omega Bomb activate. All the kids tried to escape, but it was too late. It exploded, killing them all. The only one alive left in the class was Hans. Chapter 9, the final hour. Hans Mars went to his 7th hour, which was the last hour of the day before he finally went home. When he got there, it was the gym with many other students, and a super obese teacher named Hoopa Garbage came up to him. You go to Team 1. He pointed to a group of super obese kids who never ate vegetables or exercised once. There were 2 other groups, Team 2, and the best athletes in the school, and Team 3 was missed. Each team had 50 members, all students of the school. Carl was brought in, still practically lifeless, and was put on Team 1. Ungadooble, said Hoopa Garbage, as he did right after 2 other teachers locked the door. The government told us only 25 in our school can graduate. Hoopa continued, there seems to be a diploma crisis, as the diploma factory is experiencing issues. Hoopa explained, so our district has decided that all students will form teams and fight to the death in various activities for the chance of graduation. All the kids got scared, but Grungo, one of the janitors, pointed at Davy Crockett at the crowd, and they quieted down after that. Don't even think about escape. Your parents had already agreed to this, and the ones who didn't have been sent to the pit of doom for 32 years. He continued.
By the end of the day, you'll expect 70 to fail.
He then took out a baseball.
Whoever catches this will have the option to leave, however they will not graduate.
He then threw it, and many of the crowd piled over one another to catch it, resulting in the death of 11, all of which were from Team 2. No one catched it, however, one was put into a coma because they were hit by it.
Oh wow, Lilith dead already. Bring the coma 1 here. Bill Deuces, another janitor, salvaged their body from the lifeless pile and threw it on the floor. Could've went through this man. Grungo then took out a shotgun and ended the one of the coma. First activity. Some teachers at Bill Deuces set up a beanbag throw, and 5 members from each team were chosen at random. Hans was a representative for his team, Team 1. Simply every member from each group must throw a beanbag quite far. The length thrown will measured and compared with other members. Each round the lowest scoring members will be brutally executed. The remaining 3 must battle with the spears. Begin. Team 3 was scared because they were horrible at beanbags. What are we going to do? Said one of them, don't worry, I'll we know this. And a Team 3 member, he then ran to throw the beanbag but fell over and died. The beanbag barely traveled. Yes, this will be easy to beat. We will survive the first round. They then all slightly put their beanbags in front of the dead one. Oh yes, it's gonna be easy like chicken pie, said Lamar. Team 2 member, a Team 1 member heard this like chicken. Said Future to Team 1 member, then threw the beanbag across the room and it killed the teacher. Very well done, I must say, Team 1. Then all the Team 2 members got big mega mad at Lamar and decided he should be sacrificed. Round 1, they forced him to lightly throw his beanbag, and the others threw their beanbags a little far, and the Nelvers threw their beanbags a little far. Guys, they say it gonna be like chicken pie, said Future. Ow yeah! They then began throwing their beanbags across the room. Hans knew he couldn't throw farther than them, so he tied the shoes of one of the bats when no one was looking, causing them to barely throw their beanbag. Ow, like poop, they yelled as they fell. Hans threw his beanbag past it. Alright, let's see the results, said Hoopa said as he signaled Boogooses to inspect them. First he went to Team 1. Him, Boogooses pointed at the fat who answered, then he was executed brutally. Boogooses then went to Team 2. Islam, yelling a member of Team 2, you speak lies. He then took down a ruler, a measure that Lamar's was super 1 inches in front of Eric. Your execution will be increasingly brutal, then the last is punishment. Boogooses continued. One, no, this is insane, I'm out of here. Eric tried to run away, but Grungo shot his knees out. Bout. Patch up his wounds, his execution doesn't deserve to be done quickly.
Then dragged Eric to the closet as he screamed desperately. Then Boogooses went to the celebrating Team 3. Our lowest shooter died, so there's no need for an inspection, said one of them, but Boogooses was unfazed. This one, he pointed to Johnson, who panicked. Waited. Before he could say anything, his head was exploded. Oh my goodness, shouted a Team 3 member. I assume you've all learned now the consequences of an attempt at control. Hoopa said calmly, no, this, future attempts will be met with harsher punishments. Hooper continued. Next round. Over time, more and more members were executed and hands. Lamar and Johnson were the ones left of each team. As you know, you will now fight to the death. Then you will survive for the next activity. Hooper explained. He then signaled Bagusis to ration the spears between the members. Again, instantly Lamar went for Johnson 2, first looking for an easy kill. I'm about to turn you into a chicken Taiwan casserole kebab! He then jumped towards Johnson, however Johnson 2 dodged last second and Lamar landed in the wood chipper which was behind him. Amusing, remarked Bagusis. Listen man, said Johnson 2, just let me win. I'm smarter than you, okay, so I deserve to win. He then started charging towards Hands, but he slipped on a conveniently placed bar of soap. Ow! Taking the chance, Hands charged over and jumped to impale Johnson 2, but he accidentally catapulted himself across the gym. What? Johnson 2 said confusingly as he was getting up. He then walked backwards on Hands' spear and had flown up and whacked the back of his head, killing him instantly. Hands landed safely on his hands doing a handstand. However, Hands called it a handstand because he thought that was funny. Team 1 has won this round, said Hooper. All of Team 1 cheered, but since they were fat, they were shaking all of the bleach for killing 2 Team 2 members. Team 1 now has 46 members left, Team 2 32, and Team 3 45. Hooper continued. Next activity. The next activity is a game of soccer, however, due to the fact that there are 3 teams, one team must be disqualified. The main team won for their success in the previous challenge. And all the fats on Team 1 cheered, killing another 17 2 members, bringing them down to 25. This isn't fair, we lost half of our team. Still a team to remember. Prepare the punishment. Lupa said in response. All of a sudden, 4 chains came out of nowhere, ripped the limbs off of them, slowly leaving them to die. 24. After the soccer game was set up and ready, Team 3 was insanely smug. You gonna go down, we got the numbers. Cheering a Team 2 member yelled to begin. Immediately a Team 2 member kicked the soccer ball and it launched across the room, bouncing between Team 3, killing 12. What that? Immediately after Jared said that someone on Team 2 kicked the soccer ball and it decapitated Jared and flew through the torso of
The Team 2 goalie score!
Real Boogus as he viciously beat 14-3 members to death.
Surely this is not allowed.
You have disrespected me. You have disrespected me, said Hoopa in response. Right after 4 clowns came out of nowhere and kidnapped Janice, they then ran inhumanly fast into the Goofy room and she was never seen again. By this point, Team 2 had only 24 members left after just round 1 began. Said Hoopa, this time Team 3 had the first kick. Guys, I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. I can do this, I will do this, said Evan Yukis, a Team 3 member. You just say, guys? That's offensive. And all of Team 3 and Team 2 beat Evan until they were paralyzed. You people, can I kick? Some kid in a wheelchair said, of course, poor baby, you can kick for us. When they tried to kick, the leg fell off and the entire Team 2 tackled them and they died. They did kick the soccer ball, but they missed and it hit a hanging light which fell and killed 19 Team 3 members. You have disrespected my gym Team 2. Then Team 2 started backing up. No, and please, it was an accident. Then Team 2 accidentally bumped into entire Roman Empire Centurion army and they were all brutally slaughtered. Then the Centurion army ran away. Team 2 has been disqualified. Team 3 was escorted to their seats with only 14 members left and Team 1 still at 45. There appears to be a disadvantage. Hoopa then pressed a button and 20 spears launched out, killing many Team 1 members. There are now 29 contestants left. Teams will now be broken. But said, I have decided that only 10 may graduate from the school. No one complained because they knew death would ensue if they did. But they really wanted to after that. Now, Hoopa continued. Begin the brawl. All of a sudden, weapons dropped from the ceiling. Some kids picked them up and tried to attack Hoopa, but they were killed instantly by Grungo. Any violations of the code will be met with death. Hans ran from his seat, quickly dodging some of his previous allies who were flailing their arms around while holding 17th century swords. Yelled a fat kid as they threw a warhammer across the room, killing 3. Oh yeah! Right after he said the sneaky winky sneaked behind them and killed them. But the fat's body fell on them before they could escape and they died. 22 left. A kid that took out a minigun and was about to go insane, but Grungo backhanded them across the room, killing them. Possession of unauthorized prohibited weaponry will be met with death. Hoopa said, I'ma get get you, Hans! 7 kids were closing in on Hans. Many hated him as his unpopularity carried from his younger years. Yeah! One of them swung their warhammer at him, but missed and killed 2 bystanders. He tried to hit Hans again, but accidentally killed 4 bystanders. He was the only one left of the 7.
It had charged at Hans, but he dodged and then charged headfirst into the wall, killing them and killing one another because parts of the ceiling collapsed. And the Eucus was still alive, but had brain damage. Someone thought it'd be a good idea to superglue gladiator swords to his hands, and he killed 3. 1 left. As Hoopa said this, a kid stepped on a landmine, killing 8. Only 2 students were left, that being Evan and Hans. It seems more have lost than expected. He then took out 2 diplomas. You 2 have faced through challenges and thus have graduated. Then Evan fell over and died because he farted too hard.
Whoa, what am I gonna do with the other one?
Hoopa yelled.
You could graduate, Carl!
Responded Hans.
And I see no reason not to?
Despite not participating in the activities, Carl was graduated. Chapter 10, Mad. Hans had arrived home for dinner after the long day and his parents were surprised to see him. Do you live? Hans' father yelled, yes, father, aren't you proud? Hans responded, proud. I bet you 1 million marks you would die. Hans' father said as he flipped over the table. You ruined everything, Hans. Hans' mother yelled, not yet. Hans' father said as he pulled a bat out of his pocket. Hans' mother saw the look in her husband's eyes and took out a spatula. Hans' mother charged towards Hans and his finger was cut off.
You piece of trash!
His mother said as she fell over. Father began throwing garbage bins at Hans. Hans kept jumping and avoiding the cans.
Just die already!
Hans' mother said as she came out of the trash while swinging a golf club blindly. Bogatti to a demi-tane charged to the window and began attacking Hans. Die. Hans punched Bogatti with a broccoli and Bogatti scurried away. That's it, you're taking it too far, Hans' father said.
What did I even do?
Hans pleaded, but he was ignored as Hans' father charged at him, but he slipped and the bottle he was holding was jabbed into his brain and he supposedly died. Oh my goodness, you killed you, father, yelled Hans' mother.
That's a no-no in the sky!
An enraged Hans' mom then began charging towards Hans with a medieval sword.
I'm gonna get you handsy!
As Hans was running through the town, his mother kept pursuit, so he ran to the farmer's market.
Sammy ain't gonna be pleased when he hears this!
Hans knocked over barrels of fruit as he ran through the market. However, Hans' mother was unfazed. In fact, she started running faster, killing people and destroying buildings. Yes, entire buildings in her way.
Come to mommy, Hansy!
Then Hans hit a dead end. He ran to the edge of a mountain.
Looks like it's the end of the road, Hans!
His mother said while charging faster.
Hans had no clever tricks this time. Seconds before his own mother ended him, he jumped off the side of the cliff. Hans' mother said in a deep Hungarian man accent she kept charging and couldn't stop and flew off the side of the mountain, plummeting towards her death. No time for this, Hans. One day, nine to the white. Before she could finish, she died. Hans was hanging off the side of the cliff and climbed up, boy. A townsfolk said, "You're a man now." Right after he said that, Hans beat a woman, ate a dog alive, and then drunk a beer. November air. Hans was now a man! And he moved in a home near a diner with Carl, who had recovered a bit from the Angry 3 mustard incident. However, he wasn't the smartest tool in the shed since then. Hans had a job at a general store called Ungla Dungalo, not far from his home. Oh, I wonder what I'm gonna spend all my riches on today. Some rich guy said while walking in the Ungla Dungalo and knocking stuff over. Do I want this? He picked up a 700-year-old Indian artifact. Nah, it's ugly. He then threw it across the store and it was destroyed and knocked over several shelves, causing $700,000 worth of damage. Ooh, what's this? He picked up a mirror and saw his obese, disgusting reflection. What? This thing is fatphobic! Slave, what is this insanity? He showed it to his slave. Can I please have some food? I haven't eaten, Inda. He then sucker punched the slave across the street. Don't talk back to me, he said, now you. He pointed at Hans while walking towards him. What's the meaning of this? This cruel, evil joke. The rich man continued. Hans tried to get a word in, but the rich man interrupted. No, I'm not dealing with this. No way, I demand to see the manager. Right after he said that, some bald dude built like a water bottle walked over. What seems to be the problem, sir? The manager said this clearly offended the rich man. Sir, I'm clearly a beautiful pony, not a man. They then kicked the manager, breaking their jaw. said my natural beauty did a twirl. I demand a refund. He continued, but you didn't bud. Before Hans could finish, the rich man interrupted. Up, not another word out of you, Beardo. Hans had no beer. This place has insulted me. I am a friend of the Tsar. Every time he spoke, a slew of mucus and spit flew from his mouth. I demand compensation. I demand respect. And I yell. As he walked, he was on his schizophrenic rant. The manager whacked him on the back of his head with frying pan. Did you just hit me? Said the fat one, turning his deathing gaze upon the manager slowly. I. The manager stuttered, and the rich man picked him up by his ear. It is time for the punishment. The rich man said in a very deep Russian accent.
The manager just believe it when go get the one. You mad when where was a snow again? No, please! The manager pointed the rich man and smashed their hand against the The manager yelled, and the rich man cut off each of the manager's fingers one by one. Chop and chop and chop and chop. He continuously chanted. By the end of it, the manager passed out. Now you sorry now? Said the rich man while panting.
Nah, bro.
Responded Hans.
Please!
Begged the rich man. Hans pondered. $50,
Said Hans.
Oh, I only have 49, yelled the rich man. That ain't gonna cut it? Then Hans pulled out a Model 1 Smith & Wesson and repeatedly shot the rich man. You fool, I will get my vengeance one day.
One day!
Hans finished the job, ending the terror of the rich. Little did Hans know the rich man paid some French dude 1 billion marks to kill Hans in 1915, just seconds before he died when Hans was blinking.
Mondays, am I right?
Hans said, and right then 700 hobos rushed into the general store while hysterically laughing and destroying everything. Won their way out, they took the manager with them.
Tenor!
Hans and Carl were at dinner in their home.
You guy like pancakes!
Carl said as he bashed his head against the table. They were eating raw potatoes.
You ruined my dinner?
Hans said, you just had to be friends with the rat. Now I can't eat rat soup. Hans continued,
Rat's rigged!
Before Carl could finish, Hans blocked his mouth.
No fit
Hans looked to the door and he saw the strange German man with a square mustache.
Well played, Hans. Well played.
He said as he descended back into the closet.
You almost got us killed.
Hans yelled, ever since that incident, you've been useless.
Hans continued. Nuh-uh.
Carl said,
Yes, you have.
Hans retorted,
Nuh-uh plus infinity.
said Carl.
Dang it.
Hans was defeated in this conversation, and he banged his fist on the table, making it explode into millions of wood chips, but Carl used his single-use telekinetic powers to fix it immediately before the chips even touched the ground. Hans went to the diner to talk to some fried helmet guy. Supposedly he was a soldier and was waiting for deployment.
Hey, fried brain,
said Hans as he walked towards Fried Helmet.
It's Friedel! Friedel! Not Fried Helmet, not Fried Brain! Friedel! Has everyone in this town lost their mind?
Yelled Fried Helmet.
Oh, you silly goose,
said Hans, and everyone then began laughing while throwing burning hot molten pies at Fried Helmet. 2 hours later, after the chaos had stopped and Fried Helmet recovered, Hans and Fried Helmet discussed.
So what did you want?
Fried Helmet said,
I've heard you're in the military.
Responded Hans.
Yeah, what about it?
Retorted Fried Helmet, I've lost my job and was looking for a knot. Before Hans could finish, Fried Helmet interrupted.
Lieutenant General! Fried Helm was on a rant. Quite ironic. Friedel said Bravest Charleston Mobius Maximus the 57th as he time traveled away. What was that? Yelled Fried Helmet. Anyways, I'm getting deployed soon, so make like a cat and scram, buddy Batisha. He then threw Hans across the diner, destroying several priceless artifacts while on his way out of the diner. Oh yeah! Right before Fried Helmet could finish, 7 millions hobos came out of nowhere, killed him with worker strike signs, and ran away. I must document this, said Lucas Charleston Edmonds. Yet when he wasn't looking, Hans switched a blank calendar with his real one, resulting in multiple incorrect dates regarding Hans' earlier years in the war to end all wars and beyond the wire. Ooh, shiny. Carl said as he walked near the bar, he picked up one of the only things left from the attack off of the ground, Friedelm's badge, and he took it home.
Hans was getting ready for bed. Yes, finally peace and quiet. 10 minutes after Hans laid down, an extremely loud, mind-boggling orchestra began playing right in front of his house. What is going on? Hans' voice was drowned out by the orchestra. Stop it, stop. A 200-pound vase from 1 million BC then fell on Hans' head as it was knocked over from the loud music, and Hans passed out. Hans woke up to Carl swinging his head around. There was still mustard sludging around in his head. A handy ladder, Carl said as through a steel ladder. Directly at Hans' forehead, we must find occupations. Carl, marks don't grow on trees. Hans said, oh yeah, then what's that? Carl pointed at an actual mock tree. Whoa. Hans questioned, oh, you don't like it? Well, guess I'll just throw it away. Carl then threw the tree out the window and it fell into a conveniently placed vat of lava. As Hans and Carl were walking outside, a veteran from the Revolutionary War came up to them. Are you a soldier like me? He said to Carl. Carl had the badge on. What, you gonna go to military boot now? They then farted super hard and Carl was flung to boot camp. You should do the same like you, buddy. He said to Hans, the veteran, then backflipped into a sewer drain and died. Hey, some old dude said, Chapter 11, Hans' crazy day. Ja, ja. Hans said it in an extremely stereotypical high-pitched German voice. I got a job for you, but it ain't pretty. He then brought Hans to his house. See that? The guy pointed at what looked like a pile of diarrhea. That's Ulalia, said Hans. That's my dog named Ja. The guy was now angry. Why you call my dog ugly? Hans tried to get a word in, but he couldn't. No, don't say nothing. No buts, no excuses. He continued. Job, get him.
Water started levitating it over into a Hans while doing backflips. He yelled, Doom, Doom, Hans yelled.
That reminds me, I gotta go. Boom! Boom!
Hans then released the thunder and used diarrhea beam on Jaw.
No more dog!
The guy yelled, you killed it.
He saw you.
You killed it.
He yelled, oops, old Barry.
Said Hans.
You're gonna pay for this. Okay, so how much was the dog's value? Asked Hans. About 42 marks. Responded the guy. 42 marks? How about 38?
Said Hans.
I don't know.
Responded the guy.
Yeah, sure. Hans paid for this. Hey, I see you got money, honey. Said some fat dude to Hans.
What's a move?
They continued. Sir! Before Hans could finish, he was teleported to a new job at a bookstore. Hey! You're the customer at the bookstore.
Do you have babies? Jump part 3?
You're the customer who looked like an ape. No, said Hans. Then the customer violently grabbed their head and a blood vessel in their brain exploded. Do, have baby ice cream milky poopsie surprise prequel part 72? They violently stuttered. I highly doubt that it even exists.
Responded Hans. In response, the customer began destroying everything.
Do.
Every time he uttered the letter D, poop flew out of his mouth.
Do you have?
Before he could finish, Hans interrupted.
No, we don't have whatever delusional book you're about to ask about. Do.
He kept saying.
No, he do.
Then a dinosaur broke in.
Don't move, yelled the customer.
What's going on here?
Yelled the manager as he came out of his office. He was killed by the dinosaur. Listen.
Whatever do you do, don't say poo.
Said the customer. Said Hans. That was a test. I was just about to give you 1 billion money every day and I'll need a food. And I was gonna give you super duper house and meaty dog never ending. But since you didn't say poop, now I'ma kill you. Said the customer as the dinosaur cardboard cutout fell over. He then began charging towards Hans in ultra slow motion. Oh? Hans left and went home. As Hans was walking down the street, he saw a job offer.
Hey, you see?
You got that job offer yet, kid? Some dude with a 10 feet wide mustache said in a stereotypical Italian accent.
Oh, yeah?
Hans replied,
Well, then put it there.
The guy then ran away. Awkward, said Hans. Then the live audience laughed. When Hans arrived at the place where the job was Fumba Potato, he walked in and there was someone who was dead lying on the floor. Get out of my way! Someone ran past Hans, attempting to escape, but the store owner said, LeBron James! And then threw a basketball at their head and their brains splattered all over the street.
You here for the job interview, boy?
The store manager asked Hans. Yeah.
On first ball, right after the store manager took out Potato. Question 1, the manager responded, "What's this?" He asked the Potato. Said Hans. Question 2, said the store manager as he gave Hans a deathly stare. "How potato tastes?" "Yeah, it's like potato," responded Hans. "His job now, you mess up no more," said the manager. "You excuse me, this potato isn't potato-y enough." Some obtuse lady in a wheelchair with a beard said while rolling in, the manager paid no attention. "Excuse me, I'm talking." The manager slowly turned towards the woman. "I'll have you know when I speak you listen, you're just a ugly, dirty peasant, and I'm the beautiful, gorgeous Amazi." The lady's head then turned into a potato, and it fell off and rolled on the floor. "Spongy slow," the manager said. All of a sudden, a hunchback crawled out and put the potato on the shelf, and afterwards scurried back to the cellar of where it once came. "Now, job easy. Person pick potato. They bring it, they pay. Put money in barrel." The manager said as he pointed to a crumbling 2-pound barrel completely compacted with poop. "They try steal, me come. They stop, understand?" The manager continued. "Ja vi pierium." Hans said in a high-pitched Polish accent. "Strike 1, said the manager as they entered their office. A big Russian man busted down the door and stomped towards Hans. "Дай мне картофеля! Ты, papa, или я убью тебя! Твой семью собаку!" He roared. "What?" said Hans, the Russian man, and banged his hands on the table. "Фу, эти тупые баварцы едят тупых ублюдков! Фу, они тупые, тупое баварское дерьмо! Тупые отбросы! Ловите этих чертовых баварцев, потому что эти тупые громовые пироги такие тупые! Следующий пункт! Супер! Яхта!" The Russian man yelled as he began destroying everything. The manager then came out. "You have made a grave mistake," the manager said. "Брат, это я, мы должны бежать из страны перед Великой войной. Они пытаются найти меня, брат, но я замаскировался. Приходи немедленно, или они убьют тебя. Они убьют нас." The Russian pleaded, but the manager wasn't having it. "Trestipshitchika," said in a deep voice. "Брат, пожалуйста." The Russian pleaded immediately after the entire store began levitating and the exit was encased with fossilized diarrhea, blocking all means of escape. "Don potato, ivum del vito, shizum and fito, manjom el condo." The manager began chanting as he floated. "Uh-oh," said Hans. "Bean beetle taco, veli mato, the telenecan post, the damn potato." The potatoes began levitating. "Я должен выбираться отсюда." The Russian yelled as he desperately attempted to escape. However, it was too late. "We've been entitled the tumultate for the potata potato, baby tau tata, the common potato at the out of the common plato." The manager was now yelling and items began violently flying around the room. The manager's voice began echoing in the Russian, eyes exploded.
The Russian yelled. The manger echoed. The manger continued. Nyap, 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 nyap. The Russian pleaded. Hurry! The manager finished. His voice echoed and the Russian exploded into blood everywhere. Then within 5 seconds, everything went back to normal and the store was back on the ground. "Excuse me, I've been waiting for the stove!" A lady outside the store yelled, but before she could finish, her head turned into a potato. Some ugly person walked in. Hans looked at them in disgust. "Who's the fat, ugly nerd?" Right after they said that, the cool kid from chapter 3 came back alive and jumped through the window. "You stole mine, now you're gonna pay!" They yelled. What? Hans confusingly said, then they decapitated Hans. Hans woke up in a hospital and his wounds were all healed up. "Heal you now, you pay me money!" Big doctor yelled. "Yeah," said Hans in response. The doctor backflipped out the window and died. "Hey!" The nurse kicked down the door into Hans' room. "Here, your dinner!" They threw a bowl of pure broth, but it bounced to the table and bounced off a rat, and the rat flew in the air and landed in the bowl as the bowl bounced off the ceiling on Hans' table, making Hans rat soup. "Oh, you like rat soup?" said the nurse named Ungla. "Yeah, yeah," said Hans. "Say too." Then Ungla and Hans then pranced off and planned their wedding. If anyone has any objections to this marriage, speak now or for. Before
in his life. His only friend had been shipped to boot camp for an indefinite period. He had brain damage. Everywhere he went, people died. His entire family is either dead or disowned him. His wife's head now looks like cabbage. And now he was on strike too with the manager.
This can't get any worse. It got worse. Hans had arrived to work. There are consequences for your actions, Hans, said the manager. One more strike. Right after the manager said that Hans accidentally stepped on a potato chip that took 92 years to produce, the manager said in the entrance log, strike 3. In my difficulty, the manager pulled a lever and Hans fell through the trapdoor into the depths below. Oh no, Joe! Yelled Hans. What? You know who I am? Someone caged in the depths said, you're here to rescue me. Right? Yelled Joe. Nah, fam. Hans said as he set Joe's cage on fire, burning it alive in an agonizing death. You will pay for this. You'll done me money, said Hans, but then a banker came. Hey there, chum thumb, I can write you a loan and you pay me back, but X me sounded more sound like a deal, said the lawyer. What? Then the lawyer threw a suitcase at Hans' forehead and it exploded and papers flew everywhere, which of course intensified the flames in the cage. Did I say your name, Hans? No, I don't think I did. I was talking to Chum Thumb over here, yelled the lawyer. To Hans, he talked to me. Chum Thumb yelled, what? Oh my goodness. I was not talking to you, Hans. I was talking to Hans. Then Chum Thumb pointed to a rotting hand on the floor. Do any of you know how to escape? Said Hans. Then all of a sudden all the walls fell and the holograms faded, revealing Hans was on a massive pillar surrounded in darkness except one light hanging from the unseen ceiling. You failed the test, the voice of the manager said through the speakers. You must now go through the trials of fungus. He finished. Right then a long path emerged from the darkness below. On it was with a floating potato blocking the path. The trials had begun. What that thing? Said Hans, and a keypad and monitor emerged from the front of the potato. Question 1, what is the secret of the poop blacks? Robotic voice said, what is new? Hans then punched the screen and the potato violently fell, landing on the pathway, destroying it. Hans began falling, but luckily he knew master gymnastics and did parkour to get on the next platform. However, he tripped and forgot master gymnastics instantly. Then the next platform connected. I was a fat guy in a wheelchair, dual-wielding nuclear missile silos. Present me with a fun guy, and you will be a fun guy. If you fail to do this, you will not be a fun guy, said the fat guy.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Said the fat guy. Then all of a sudden Hans put on sunglasses and said apology unaccepted. He then took out a revolver and shot the fat guy's poop tank, exploding him into poop specks. The next trial emerged, which was the trial of the Yellow House. Hans thought that name was Scoop, so he dipped his finger in the poop puddle, remains of the fat guy and his poop tank, and began painting over the label. Then he decided to write "Slow Balloon." This was gibberish because he didn't speak English. It just so happened that he spelled balloon correct, although this would give him the curse of WWF, that guy, which would force his friend of 5 minutes,
whose name won't be written for copyright reasons set by the Beyond the Wire author,
to say what does that mean, Hans, sometime in 1915. But what he didn't know was the fact that an evil man would find this written on the sign and name his super villain persona after this. Hey, that's my sign, said Yellow Baby, was a 16, 28, 2, 3, 4-year-old man.
You better rub that off or I rub poop on your bread,
he continued. Naka, said Hans. He then juggled 7 1,000-year-old Viking war axes. No, that's it. We're done, bucko! Yellow Baby then began running towards Hans, planning to rub poop in his brain. However, on account of being 16, 22, and 3/4 old, he died from a heart attack and shriveled into pure uranium, and the dust blew directly into Hans' eyes, who then tripped and fell off the platform into a seemingly endless abyss. Oh no! Hans said while Jamaican throat singing, you have failed the trials, Hans. The manager said Hans landed in a bucket of water, so he survived the fall and was in a arena-like structure. However, I will give you one last chance. I find you humorous. Said the manager while jumping down where Hans was. He was wielding a massive gladiator sword and began charging towards Hans. But the unbelievable beating! The manager pierced through Hans, however he had no reaction. It's over, Hans. You failed. You ripped the sword out of Hans' stomach and he fell to the floor as the manager walked away. I don't think so, Bob. Hans said the sword pierced through his lucky ketchup packet. Yeah, well, I do,
said the manager. They then took out a Gatling gun and began rapidly firing at Hans, and he turned into a bloody mess, and he died. Or did he?
He did.
But after 8 nanoseconds, he got up and started firing his minigun at some random fat guy that was making a crazy time travel machine. And the second he fired the first bullet, he finished it. And it just so happened that each of the time travel making was set to 5 minutes before Han died. What do you think you're doing? Bye, yelled the manager. Hans and the manager were then brought into the time zone.
You think you can mess with time?
It continued. Yeah, then Hans pushed over the clock of time.
No, what have you done?
Time itself began warping around them. Begin the brawl.
Voices throughout time echoed around us as time was deteriorating. Stop this madness!
Fungus, Mungus, time travelius, Bertius, Forty, the guardian of time voice echoed.
You have fractured time, and you must now die in order to repair the universe. Then the manager threw a potato at
Fungus, Mungus, Tim Trebelius, the guardian of time, and he fell to the ground.
You imbecile, you have no idea what you've done.
He yelled,
I enchant the potato with time.
Yelled the manager as he impaled the guardian of time.
You have cooperated, Hans.
The manager said as he began floating.
For this, you will be spared from the destruction of the universe. The manager continued.
No! Then Hans threw a pebble at the manager. It did nothing.
You have betrayed me. The manager then began charging his death beam. Hans was done for. I was looking forward to you surviving this, Hans, but that won't happen now. Right after he said this, a obese, nerdy kid in a mobile scooter flew in. That's cliche!
He then began firing miniguns at the manager.
You fool! You only made me strong! Ah!
The manager farted really hard because he ate a super bean greasy taco.
He discharged all of his powers when he did this. No!
The manager began fading away as the energy of time was too much.
A job well done.
Right before the obese kid finished, the floor below him opened and began morphing into a donut. He fell through into the abyss of time.
Oh, donut!
Hans then began eating the donut of time, only making time itself more unstable.
Ew, that's bubbly flavor.
Hans then began kicking the donut, but he fell into the apes of time.
Oh, Glotha! Oh, great, and another mouth to feed. Now I can't buy beer.
Hans' father yelled.
Wait a minute.
Hans' father looked at Hans confused.
You ain't a buffet, you a man.
Hans' father yelled.
I knew it. I knew you were cheating on me.
Hans was then thrown across the room by his father, and he turned to Hans' mother.
You cheat on me, I cheat on your exitons.
He yelled.
No, wait!
Before Hans' mother could stop her husband, he changed her existence from true to false, and she disappeared, and so did Hans.
Oh, I guess it was me, son. Oh, well.
Hans now did not exist, but then something happened, and everything went back to normal, except the manager was dead,
and Hans was alive! Hans walked out of the manager's labyrinth. He survived the trials. Or did he? He did. I'm about to fart. Said Hans. Before the fart, some guy said and then paused while smirking and winking at a non-existent crowd. You should do the Bunghouse Challenge. He continued. No, you should, said Hans. Then the man started uncontrollably and very fastly doing the Bunghouse Challenge. It did not end well. Hey, you know, pay taxes,
yelled the mayor, who skied towards Hans on sticks of butter.
How am I supposed to pay for me?
He yelled. Hans couldn't comprehend what the mayor was saying on account of the fact that there was a metal pole lodged in his head. The mayor then stretched his hand and picked up Hans and threw him in the air, and he landed in a steel factory.
Oh boy, I see you did a job!
Some fat old dude said in a Texan accent, so all you gotta do is put the glue in there. The old guy put his hand directly on molten hot liquid steel, and he began burning alive. He died.
Party foul!
Now some fat guy wearing a tank top and green shorts, and he was chugging a bear. A mixture of mucus, saliva, and cheese erupted from his mouth when he yelled this.
Stop sitting there and work for once!
Another worker said, I didn't work, I picked up Pino, and I wrote with it steel. So I did work and that was hard, so I'm on break now. He somehow misspelled steel as poop. In fact, I demand I get paid right now.
He then began throwing bricks at the manager's office, and one went through the window. What in the what's going on down there? The manager screamed while looking out the window, but since the fat guy wearing the tank top was blindly throwing bricks, one of them hit the manager's head and he was knocked out, and he fell into a vat of lava. Then the manager's bodyguard began slowly approaching him with miniguns. Wait, no, guys! The bodyguards began revving up their miniguns. That's it! Last second, the fat guy put corks in the minigun barrels, and it was too late to stop the miniguns, and all the barrel comically expanded. Now, no! The miniguns exploded, and the bodyguards all turned black, and then blinked, and then turned into piles of ashes and died. Stop him! The workers then began chucking wrenches, and the fat fellow in one of them impaled his head, but did not kill him. However, he had 3 seconds before he died due to bleeding. If I'm going, you're going too! The fat man activated the bomb, a pack of dynamite strapped to his chest to go off exactly when he died, but he spent too much time talking exploding before he could run towards anyone who will lead us. A worker cried. Some buff guy said, yeah, oh yeah. The buff guy said, you didn't let me finish. He humorously remarked, the workers let out inhuman yells and began voraciously charging towards the buff guy. I will beat you, scum! The buff guy explained while flexing his muscles. Yeah, you want what I mean? Then all of a sudden the wall behind the buff guy fell, and there was the entire Roman Empire army of all of history standing behind him. The workers' jaws dropped. He is sorry! They pleaded. I don't think so. Charge! The buff guy yelled, but the Romans just stood there. Charge! The Romans started to get mad. I said, charge, you fat piece of poop! The Romans got more mad. Charge you! Charge! Said Julius Caesar. The buff guy didn't hear this, and the Romans began charging. Yes! I The Romans charged under Caesar's orders, not the buff guys, and he was killed in the process, and so were numerous workers. Wait, I thought Julius Caesar died in chapter 3. Happy camper. Said Johnny Guterre, then the entire Roman army faded from existence. Oh yeah, I won! Right after Johnny Guterre said that, he was shot in the chest 400 times with a 50 caliber rifle by Funach. This happened within less than 1 nanosecond. Darn it, now I gotta get a new job. Right after the last worker said that, a conveniently placed anvil fell on his head and he died, and Hans was left all alone. Sad and covered in diarrhea. Yet after all of this, Hans was left with 2 options: stay here and risk destroying the entire planet because of some random dude's actions, or leave and go to bed and check up on Carl, of which he has not seen in 2 to 3 days. He chose to leave. This averted the imminent destruction of the universe and its history. When Hans got home, he looked through the window to see that Carl had recovered, and he was now able to do normal things. When Hans walked in, Carl was on the floor with a hot plate plugged into the wall, even though power plugs and hot plates haven't even been invented. And he was cooking a can of beans when Carl noticed Hans. He stood up and asked with a blank expression, "Are you responsible for the bright light exploding from the potato store and the entire building exploding and levitating only to be placed back down in the middle of the road?" Hans didn't even have to respond because Carl already knew, with the stuff already happening around Hans being completely and otherwise impossible. When Hans looked around his house, he noticed that all of the furniture was gone, and there was only 2 buckets with a backrest crudely tied on. What happened to our furniture? Then Carl punched a hole in the wall. Tax collectors came because you were 2 minutes late on the taxes. Hans didn't say anything. He just sat down on the bucket and fell asleep instantly, finally finding a moment of peace for once in his life. Chapter 13. I don't know. Oh, and they left this. Carl said as he picked up a lit stick of dynamite. What? No! The dynamite exploded and the entire apartment collapsed, killing everyone except them because they had falling apartment insurance. Also, by the way, I found a house in the southeastern part of the city. Let's live there. Carl calling Hans, and they went to the house and moved in. Hey, pay up! They looked down the street and noticed someone wearing a peaked tuxedo and googly eyes. Say you're insurance, so we won't be sure if you're alive! They threatened. Oh, sorry for the inconvenience. Said Hans. Then the insurance company got on their knees and screamed to the sky.
No, it's hard to hide. I don't know anymore. And it's Carl. Oh no! What am I going to do? I don't know. He then farted out his colon and died. Hey, you killed that man. The police said, going to jail for the continued that be no man. The hobo muttered, what you saying? I don't speak no pirate buddy, oh. The police then shot the hobo with a blunderbuss 5 times and died. What do you mean be no man? Carl questioned. Too late. Then 50,000 gnomes
burst out of the insurance man's chest and decapitated the hobo. Oh, you don't mess! As Carl was saying this while pulling out a machine gun, the gnomes ripped off all of his limbs and carried him to the cave of doom. He's fine, don't worry. The gnomes began lunging at hands, yet he had mastered martial arts 2 million years ago, so he dodged all of the gnomes with haste. Mondays, am I right? Some dude in a silver tuxedo said as his face melted off because of a gnome wizard Incarnationis casted a spell. Papazoid for 3, that's no more! Some baby with skinny feet and hairy legs wearing a beanie took out quad miniguns, but right before he tried to fire the guns, one of the gnomes modified the gun to shoot the bang flag. Well, I'm dead. Then the gnomes, just despite what he said, modify his heart to make him live forever and to be in immense pain 24/7, and every 3 seconds it gets worse by. And if you never get used to it and you can't move, stop it, guys! If we don't work together, we'll never beat Tommy! Some random girl from the 1980s named Laura said that all the gnomes and civilians and Hans look sad and listened up. Look, I know we have our differences, but we've come this far, and if we let Tommy and his gang win, we'll lose our town. We can't lose the hockey game. She continued, she's right. Brendan said as he walked towards her, Brendan, you came back, exclaimed Hans. I know, I should have never doubted you guys. He said, well, what about Harvard? No, Miss Dane's ass. What's Harvard without my friend? They then all cheered. Let's do this, yelled Hans. After years of training, Hans and his hockey team were ready to go against the Boston Badgers, the most violent, vicious badminton team on the planet. You ready to lose, nerds? Tommy mocked, come on, come join me and leave these dorks, Laura. Tommy continued, never. Laura and Hans' team then walked away from Tommy and his gang, turning the other cheek. Hey, come back, you! Tommy got mad and gave his team a speech of hate and anger, while Hans' team got one of the encouragement and teamship. The game began. I'm going to enjoy this. We'll see, Hans said. He then kicked the soccer ball, and it flew over their entire team directly into the hole. What? You're cheating! Ref! The ref came over and inspected the situation. Don't see anything wrong. The ref tried to explain.
Wait, no, did you not see?
The ref then blew the whistle and Hans' team hit the tennis ball over the net. But no, I wasn't ready. Tommy and an HS teammate ran towards the ball but crashed into each other. 2 points, we got this, Gnome Bio said. No! Tommy yelled, then the ref blew his whistle. Sit on the bench, that's a penalty. Tommy got real mad. What no this is? He yelled, but the ref interrupted him. Did you not hear the whistle? Angrily, Tommy stomped towards the bleachers. Bye, Tommy! Nunez said, I don't go! Tommy yelled and the referee blew his whistle, and Brendan began bouncing the basketball. Stop him, Joe yelled. Right before Brendan scored, Devin kicked him over and scored. Oh yeah! Tommy and his team cheered while the crowd booed. What, you don't like a winner? Tommy mocked, then the crowd began throwing trash at Tommy. Stop it! No! The ref then walked up to Brendan. Are you okay? His leg was broken. Yeah, I think. A tear came to the ref's eyes. That's gonna be a penalty, the ref said while walking towards Devin. But what did you just say? Evan said, trying to act tough. I think you heard me, said the ref while ripping off his shirt, revealing a 70-pack. Yes, sir! The referee blew the whistle. Take this! Devin threw the ball too hard and Hans wasn't able to hit it. Strike one! The catcher yelled, hi-ya! Devin threw the ball again and Hans missed. Strike two! Laura watched from the crowd. Come on, Hans, you got this! Denise looked smugly at Hans while throwing the ball. It's over! Denise yelled as he threw the ball. Strike! Wait, what? Hans hit the ball and was it Tom's fist? Wait, no, get him! They began running towards Hans. Run! Brendan yelled, filling Hans with determination. He then ran across the field. Nope! Joe tackled him. No! Laura yelled as the team booed. We are winning, cheer us on! As they were preparing the next game, Tommy snuck up to the scoreboard and added 1 point to the score. Don't worry, Hans, you still have a chance, the ref said, but then he looked at the scoreboard. 2-2? I thought we had more time! Nubius exclaimed, guess we're just better. Devin mocked the ref, then blew the whistle. You got this, Hans! Blew a cheer, you keep doing. Brendan yelled and the whole crowd cheered. I got this! Steadily thinking, remembering his past and everything his team went through, he hit the ball. A hole! And won! The announcer yelled, I did it! Hans exclaimed, no, impossible. The nice yell, that's right, boy. Ganbayo Groovy, a slappy O's for yell. Yeah, well, okay. Then Tommy pressed the button, and a wrecking ball swung in and decapitated Laura and crashed into the stadium, destroying everything. Say body or city net.
Wrecking ball and crazy and began destroying everything by this point with Hans seeing you dead. Oh my goodness! Noble said as he was crushed under 200 tons of concrete. Hi, I'm back. Said Carl was completely fine, that his finger fell off and the wrecking ball hit the finger at the perfect angle to safely fling. Hans and Carl all the way to boot camp, all as his hometown got completely destroyed into rubble. Hans and Carl woke up into boot camp. What happened? Hans asked. I don't know. Carl said in a fat voice. Also, by the way, I moved out last year because the stock market boom. Carl said Hans heard this and writer Lucas Charles Edmonds did too and documented them while staring through the forest. I see you're interested in joining the army, yelled some military guy while walking towards them. And before Hans could finish, the guy interrupted them. Well, don't know about that guy, ain't Tarango. Then he got in a helicopter and tried to fly but spun around and crashed into a homeless shelter. I thinking we should join him because your attention. Said Carl. Hans looked at Carl with a 1,000-yard stare. Oh yeah! Carl yelled as he violently grabbed Hans and sprinted towards the military base. They were being attacked. Said soldiers on the watchtower. Artillery fired applied. They began firing 50,000 shells at Hans and Carl. But Carl had taken buck jet and he avoided all of them while charging towards the base. However, half of the soldiers training in the field were killed from the artillery raining from the sky. Lots of wait, never mind, they just civilians. They then welcomed Hans and Carl into the military base, even though the stuff there is extremely confidential. Chapter 14, Django Tango. Hans and Carl were now a part of the army and had no training, though they literally just threw a gun at Carl and called him an infantryman and a handgun at Hans, and he was called an officer. Oh yeah! Yelled Hans as he carelessly flailed his body and arms around while blindly shooting his pistol. Hey, that's insane. Yelled some dude named Gavrilo. Nobody cares, nerd. Carl yelled and everyone laughed and pointed at Gavrilo. You'll pay for this. You'll all pay. He said as he ran. Alright, everyone listen up, it's training time. Yelled the sergeant. Why? Yelled one of the soldiers. Why did you have to yell? I'm sorry, Hans. In early May of 1915. Oh, they were all astonished by what the sergeant said. Even the sergeant, for some reason. That's what I thought. The sergeant then pulled out a grenade and threw it at a group of soldiers and tried to run away, but they all died. Why did you do that? Yelled the general. Trained up. The sergeant said, that's not training, you just killed the sergeant, then stabbed them 47 times. Yeah, if you was a real general, I say you would avoid it. The sergeant then I say, well, shut him up. Sounds like a phrases such as, another illusion. This deeply troubled some dude named Joseph who ran off and began going insane. However, history may say otherwise. Now it's training time. Right after the sergeant said that he jumped 50 feet into the air. What just happened? All of a sudden, a train began coming towards them at fast speed. What is that? Right after that guy said that the Boot Council's royal guard executed them and then ran away. The sergeant then landed on the train and began controlling it. He began making insane short turns while killing everyone and destroying everything. Stop, you shall not pass. Said some fat kid who looked like they had recently been to the Science Center in St. Louis, Missouri. The sergeant instantly stopped the train and all the train cars in the back lunged forward violently and flung into the Pompeii volcano. However, the one the sergeant was on was completely fine because he had rooted level 3. Alright, now let's do gun testing. Then all the soldiers took out their iPhone 11s and began playing gun testing on robots. That's not what I meant! He then took all of their phones and a highly fragile nuke and put it in a microwave for 200 hours. This is what I meant! He then shot what he thought was a target with a rifle while blindfolded, and when he took off his blindfold and he found out he shot the alarm. Well, that's probably not important. He then shot at the target again, and right before the bullet hit the target, some dude got in the way and his head exploded. Oh, that's all we gotta do, that's easy. Said the soldiers as they began blowing each other's brain matter across the field with blunderbusses. No, that's not what I meant either. Yelled the soldiers as they began blowing each other's brain matter across the field with blunderbusses. No, that's not what I meant either. Yelled the sergeant as he threw his hat on the ground and began stomping on it. His fumes and a train whistle sound emitted from his ears. So was to be nice to the enemy. Then all the soldiers took 200 milligrams of LSD and formed a hippie circle. Half of them died from a seizure. No, that's not what I meant either. Yelled the soldier as he screamed so loud his head grew very large and the soldiers blew away on only for his head to go back to normal. I was so sucked. Then the sergeant grabbed him by the shoulders and began violently shaking them. No, you're not supposed to. That just point at the target and shoot. The soldier he was shaking didn't listen, cause at this point his brain be looking like Pepto-Bismol. Yeehaw, yelled one of the soldiers who was now dressed up as a cowboy. He was blindly shooting Colt 51s in all directions while jumping. Somehow they all hit the target directly in the middle. I hate cowboys.
Then the commander began firing at the soldier dressed as a cowboy. However, they shot the artillery shells at the perfect angle so they reflected back directly into the explosive storage, and the entire military base exploded. Uh-oh! Said the commander. Then all the soldiers in the field all say, "Woo!" while pointing at the commander. "You are done," said the sergeant. Then the commander exploded into red mist, and some fat guy saw it and made something called a creepo pass and made $1 million bajillion fingatillion quintillion bucks. Or did he? What are we gonna do now? Then the sergeant looked them dead in the eyes and said, we. There never was a us. I did all the work, I did all the jobs and all everything, and you were just for cover. Then the sergeant repeatedly and dramatically shot them in the stomach in slow motion as they fell to the ground as sad opera music played. Then the sergeant got in a black lowrider and drove away. Hans woke up and him and Carl were in a new camp in barracks. "Ooh, wake me up, I'm about to beat you up like I'm eating French fries!" Yelled some bald guy destroying everything. "I want food! Yelled another soldier. They were acting like maniacs. "All right, ladies, kill..." A sergeant came in to try to defuse the situation, but one of the soldiers ripped his lungs out and squeezed them extremely hard and put him back. Hans was in the food area and all the soldiers were rabidly eating. When they finished one meal, they threw the plate like a frisbee across the room and submerged their hand in a pot full of boiling water sludge and some kind of unknown meat mixed with bread and slapped it on another plate. "All right, soldiers, listen up!" All of them immediately stopped and looked at the sergeant. Even some dude who was falling off the roof would have frozen midair. "We have ran out of potatoes because for some reason the city we usually have supply from is in ruins." All the soldiers got extremely angry and were about to flip over the tables, but then the sergeant said, "But we have 2 sprinkles." All the soldiers then began cheering and bashing their heads against the table till 4/4 of the army died that day. "Now it's training time!" Then Hans got PTSD and he started killing everyone. "We happy friends," said some dude with a towering afro. "Now I'ma sue you for 10 million dollars. The guy was speaking in English, so none of the soldiers understood a single word, but they interpreted as fork in the road, and they began getting forks out and stabbing the floor violently. What are you doing?" Then the guy with the afro fell through the floor and was impaled by a stick of wood. Oh no, and the entire food building collapsed into itself, killing everyone except Hans. Said Carl while doing the silly Santa dance. "We must train for the army!"
Yeah, the Hans then carved a book called Arnie, and he instantly knew every single possible word tactic imaginable. But then he collapsed, was in a coma, because his mind overflowed with information. But luckily Hans knew how to do a lobotomy, so he removed the part of Carl's brain that knew the army stuff, and then he punched Carl's heart 3 times and he woke up. "What's this book?" Then Carl picked up the book again and read it and got in another coma, so Hans did another lobotomy. This called to forget past events in the future, leading to possible inaccuracies made known by the Carl character in the war to end all wars and beyond the wire. "Hi," some soldier walked up to Hans. "Yes," Hans responded, "my name is Theo." Then Hans got really angry for no reason. "No way, Theo!" Hans yelled, "I'd never talk to someone named Theo." Yelled Hans while punching the ground. He was very emotional about this. "We'll see about that," said Theo as he slowly backed into a dark alleyway, romantically laughing. "Ooh, is that a book?" Before Carl could pick up the book and read again, he ripped up Carl's hand, which was grasping the book, and buried it under 300 pounds of mud. "Why did you do that?" Hans looked Carl dead in the eyes and said, "Because I wanted to call anger and surprise." Then instantly faded away to a look of happy. "That makes sense." And the other sergeant came to him being set off to fight. Hans got so scared he put his pants over the bloody thing. Carl smirked. "I hear even know what it is to the sergeant." And ruthlessly beat Carl into a bloody pole. It took them 5 hours to walk half of a mile to the loading thing. This is because every 5 seconds
up, you fatters, yelled the general. Some breadheads thought it'd be a good idea to attack my baby's house. And the general's baby came up and screamed, yeah! The general then broke the neck and put the corpse into a pickle jar. Don't interrupt me, little baby boo! He then drop-kicked the jar and launched directly into the sun and came back. This was good. He then opened the jar and drunk it. Oh yeah! The rabid animal, he then began beating his own soldiers senselessly. Someone in the forest saw this and decided to replicate this trick, calling it sun-kissed. And he made a bazillion money, or did he? No, this did not happen in real life. Anyways, go figure out. He then one by one violently threw them in the train. Wait, I forgot my Pope, yelled one of the soldiers, but the general didn't care and the poor man never pooped again. I wonder where we going. Wait, I forgot my poop, yelled one of the soldiers, but the general didn't care and that poor man never pooped again. I wonder where we going, said his soldiers, and everyone threw him out of the train for even daring to ask that question. Wonder where we going, said Hans, and since he had plot armor, they were all super nice. I don't know, responded one of them. Then they all looked at that soldier with severe anger. You don't care who as in, you don't kill a lot of orphans wittily. Where's your set of pride? They all then began impaling that soldier repeatedly with rusty pipes. Why don't this train go faster? Said crazy grandma. Oh, crazy grandma. Then the horde laughed. No, I'm serious about this. Crazy grandma then put 300 modern-day military-grade jet turbines on the sides of the train and turned on turbo mode. What have you do? All of a sudden, the roof of the train flew off and 3 soldiers flung out. Hold on! Luckily, Hans had glued his third nose hair to the ground, and so did Carl. Grandma out! Crazy grandma then activated her parachute and flew into the jet turbines, killing her. I can't hold on much longer! The soldier who said that then unloaded gallons of diarrhea. Oh, much better. Then one of the boxes flew back and a machete bursted out and impaled him, killing him immediately. Stop the train! The soldiers were holding on, with many flying off. It's up to me! Said Fat Jim, who was always made fun of in class. You'll amount to nothing. They said you're useless. They mocked, but now after all these years, he could do something and prove all of them wrong. He was going to sacrifice himself by jumping into the tires of the dryer. Wait, never mind, he died. Alright, stop. The train conductor stopped the train, which he could have done the whole time. Here's your stop. The soldiers left the train, 100 got in, yet only 21 got left. Chapter 15, war never changes. When the soldiers got off the train, they arrived in a forest-like area. Normal plains, strange. Right after the detective said that a tree ate him alive. What do we do now? Right then the general teleported there, because 2 seconds after the soldiers left, the general developed perfect teleportation technology. However, they destroyed it 1 week after because they felt like it. You listen to what I say, boy! General yelled, okay! The general got PTSD and cried himself to sleep on the train tracks. Well, guess I'm a dominator now! Hobo Fingers, and since Hobo Fingers was holding a quadruple barrel shotgun, no one opposed this. While blessed, yeah, a soldier stepped on a landmine and exploded. What was that? All of a sudden they looked upon the horizon and saw a massive horde of Vikings charging towards them. Oh, the cannons! As the British captain, his crew began desperately shooting the cannons upon the horde, but it was of no use. Abandoned ship.
The crewmen attempted to lift the Sherman breaking and as they hit the ground, the British naval ship is blown. The Vikings began throwing the war axes across the entire battlefield. This killed 4 soldiers. Chargers! The soldiers looked behind them and saw the entire Roman Empire charging towards them. Run! The soldiers desperately began running towards a bunker in the middle of the field. As arrows and war axes rained from the sky, some of the soldiers' trenches were torn in half by the Vikings, who were now in the chase of the soldiers. Insanity! One of the soldiers yelled, the head that exploded. Guys, I have an idea. No one heard them say this because of all the Romans and Vikings were screaming and destroying everything while looking for the soldiers. I said, I-ha! The soldiers breathed with their nose down. Don't scream in my ear! Then a zombie broke down the wall and began attacking. The soldier that tried to attempt an escape was impaled by 3,000 Roman arrows. The instant he set foot from the bunker, there they are. Right after Romeo's daughter was exiled, he said that the Viking king got mad, was big and poop. The Viking began violently chopping the legs, killing them
crouched. However, luckily Sneaky McGee put earplugs in all the Vikings and Romans' ears when they weren't looking, so they didn't hear Fat Bob. We're gonna make it! They were just about to escape, but then Hans farted all the Vikings, and Romans looked directly at them. They're escaping. They all began charging at the remaining soldiers. Three of them farted so hard out of fear that they died. Us the crazy! The Vikings began launching boulders, killing even more soldiers. There were only now three left, the being Hans, Carl, and Fat Bob, and me too. Sneaky McGee also made it, but revealed themselves and were impaled by 200,000 arrows. Getting angry, up began turning the on, was turning into his ultimate form. They were going to survive. Wait, never mind. Hans just killed him because he was not scared. Because he got scared. Alright, let me check if the coast ain't clear. Hans looked over the rock they were behind, only to see all the Vikings and Romans standing right in front of him, looking directly at him, and he went back behind the rock. We're probably fine. Then one of the Vikings picked up Hans with one pinky and said, "You will now pay for what you've done." However, Hans didn't know Vikings, so he interpreted this as, Hans stayed home, the crazy. The anvil then dropped on the Viking's head and he died. Escape. Hans then began running and they were all chasing him, including Carl for some reason.
The Vikings began rolling towards a log caught a many trees all over stuff. For some reason, the Vikings tried to reach for the ground and tried to grab Hans. Stop this now! Who got D20? Reaching for it over to where they were, and all the Vikings and Romans stopped. What was I gonna say again? Then the Romans and Vikings beat the Bugatti 2018 so hard he became Bugatti 2015. While they were doing this, Hans found a mega machine gun, of which he looted off the corpse of a mole rat. Say hello to my lit! Then Hans was impaled by 9 million arrows because he just had to do his little speech before he fired at them, and he died. Hans woke up in a hospital bed, and Carl came in, who was now a Lance Corporal. I see you've awoken. Carl and smugly while showing off his badges. Hans ripped off Carl's Lieutenant General badges. Now me, Lance, Andy, and the General came in. Yes, this is what is fair. Carl, you are now infantryman once again. Carl's jaw dropped. What? I spent so long training for this. No, not gonna happen. Carl then got out a gun and tried to shoot Hans, but the bullet bounced from Hans' metal tooth that he was trying on for 5 seconds, and the bullet bounced back and hit Carl in the helmet. Carl passed out and forgot he was ever Lieutenant General. Done, Hans. Well done. Then Hans saw a prisoner walking outside his tent. Can I beat that guy up? Hans questioned. Nah. Hans then had a temper tantrum and flung his arms around. He knocked over a bowling ball which fell on his head, and then birds flew around his head. It was diner time and all the soldiers were still in training. It's food time, not train time! Yelled a soldier. Then Mr. Train Brain walked up to them while holding his toy train. What did you just say? The soldier that decapitated Train Brain with a piece of poo. Listen, you guys need to train because something crazy gonna happen soon. The General yelled, "How do you know, huh?" The General looked him dead in the eyes. It looked as if the General had not slept in 3 days. He had bruises and cuts on him, and his hat was half burned. I used grenade. It's more efficient. The soldiers were astonished. Good idea. I better write that down. They exclaimed, "Don't worry, I have this," said Ryder Lucas Charles Edmonds as he documented what had happened. "Who are you?" Hans yelled. Ryder Lucas Charles Edmonds had gotten his $10 million helicopter and flew away. Anyways, what do I do as Lieutenant General? Asked Hans. What? Responded the General. What am I supposed to do as Lieutenant General? The General got angry. What did you say to me? The General yelled. What do I do as Lieutenant General? The General heard him this time. Oh, I don't know. The General ate 4 bags of peanuts. Dinner time.
All the soldiers had to eat was 1 green bread each, not because they couldn't afford good food, but because the chefs thought it would be funny. "I don't like lettuce," some fat guy yelled as he threw his chunk of rotten bread across the room, which decapitated 3 people. "Well, I do," said Vegan 4, and in response, the fat guy then shoved his hand down their throat and ripped out their liver and took a bite and put it back. "What do you think the General meant by something crazy happening?" asked a soldier. "Probably meant what we were won." said Brain was Charleston Mobius Maximus the 57th. He then realized what he had done. Oh, butterfly! He then got in his time machine quickly and tried to get away. However, one of the soldiers used it as a porta potty before Brain was Charleston Mobius Maximus the 57th got in it, and the time machine exploded. Butterfly, said Cat. Me like dose. Then Hans punched Cat. No one cares, Poop Brain. Cat began crying. You so mean, but one day I save you. And Cat ran off crying. Hans never remembered this, but Cat, he did. Save me? From what? Everyone at the table began laughing. A big old metal box. They were all mocking Cat. Poor Cat, one day they see me as cool. Cat said crying while in his hut in the forest. One day, chapter 15. World War What? The general called all the soldiers. Alright, so the Tsar has a message. The general took out the letter. Hi. The general put the letter away. That is all it says. The general finished. Now today will be a day of fierce and crazy train, eh? The general then pulled the lever and they all teleported to the training arena. The soldiers must have thought that was too crazy, and they shot the general in the head with a blunderbuss. Well, guess I'm the general now. He took a paper off the general's corpse. First challenge, avoid the falling spears. All of a sudden the spear impaled the new general, killing him, and then more spears began to fall. I'm General No. The new general then was impaled by a spear. The spears continued to rain down for 3 hours straight. Luckily Hans had an umbrella that was just big enough for all the soldiers to be under it. Alright, I'm back. The old general came back alive. However, another soldier got scared and shot them with a blunderbuss, and was now the new general. Alright, next challenge. Defeat Boogadooga. All of a sudden, some crazy lady with a massive afro rolled in and did a backflip landing perfectly. Laughed a stereotypical fat mean guy. This is gonna be easy like pancake. He then began to charge towards her, but she dodged last second, and he fell into the spike pit. Wow! She yelled as she did a backflip so fast it had 7 soldiers a seizure. Wow! The gun just threw a brick at her head, and she died.
And I'm just the new general. And nobody's telling to me what. All the soldiers picked out the new general. No. They then ripped him into 16 individually wrapped pieces. Yeah. Then they all began rioting and destroying everything. What you do now? Rum just asked. Aren't you the general? Asked a soldier. Rum just froze in fear, and all the soldiers looked at him and started to anger. Silence filled the air. Burgess attempts to escape, yet one of the soldiers threw a basketball at his head and he fell to the ground and his brain splattered across the pavement. Wait, doesn't that mean you're the general now? This went on for hours, with the soldiers eventually killing all of each other. However, Hans and Carl snuck off. Oh yeah, we escaped. Then Big Joe walks in front of them. You boys skipping training? Before they can respond, they are kicked to another military camp. Oh, good you're here, said the instructor as Hans and Carl landed. Now, as I was saying, when you see an enemy point the gun, someone interrupted them. Boring! They then threw a potato at the instructor. That's it! The instructor then pulled a lever opening a trapdoor, and a potato thrower fell in and was never seen again. Now, as I was saying, he slapped the chalkboard. When you see an enemy, you point the gun in. The instructor waited for a response. The instructor started to get mad and he then got sad and died of brain. Dropped the gun and high-fived them. Said some dude named Hippie Joe. Alright then, why don't you try that? A Frenchman then stormed and he was holding a rifle and he pointed at Hippie Joe. Que se passe t-il, suis Joe? Hippie Joe got up and walked up to him. Je pense que c'est type la fame, responded Hippie Joe, and they then high-fived, leaving the instructor astonished. What? The instructor started stuttering, how pointing at them. You try her. He then got out a minigun, but then Hippie Joe put a cork in the barrel. That's it. The instructor then called it artillery, but Hippie Joe had an umbrella, so they were fine. Jebustin's word! Whatever the Frenchman just said made Hippie Joe very angry. Non, ce n'est pas la façon de faire de Mario! Hippie Joe then injected the French guy with 2 pounds of LSD, and the French guy's pupils dilated extremely big, and he fell over and had a seizure. Oh, I see, the spite tick. Hippie Joe then ripped the heart out of the instructor after they said that and screamed, "Woo! God!" He then jumped into the sun and died. Well, that just happened. All the soldiers laughed and made them the new instructor. Okay, when I do, the instructor didn't know what to say. He had no idea what he was talking about.
It's how!
One of the soldiers shot him in the chest 3 times with a Davy bucket.
Yes, Billy, that's how you do it. Gold star for you.
The instructor then threw a golden ninja star which went through the soldier's head. Also, his name was even Billy.
Okay, guys, we got a field trip by the way soon.
The instructor explained.
You know, just to learn stuff like poop.
All the soldiers were now paying attention because learning poop is serious business.
I want to go now.
The instructor got mad.
Nope, no. Now everyone gets to go except you.
The instructor yelled.
I'm about to crash out.
They then crashed a car into a tree and died.
Anyway, some more lessons about the gun.
Everyone sighed and groaned so hard that half of the soldiers' lungs exploded.
One, the gun is not a hot dog.
Some fat guy looked at the instructor and back at the hot dog in their mouth.
Especially if that hot dog has bacon sticking out of it.
The fat guy noticed the bacon sticking out.
Yo, I do what I want.
The fat guy then accidentally blew his brains out trying to eat the hot dog and get the bacon. Hans, Carl yelled.
Something ain't right here. I think something crazy gonna happen soon.
Hans was ignoring Carl.
Like the kind of thing that kills 40 million people.
Hans fell asleep.
Like the kind of thing that lasts 4 years.
Hans went into a coma.
No, that would never happen.
The instructor walked towards them.
Your brother is here, Ed Bogatti 2015.
Hans then awoke and saw Bogatti 2015.
You're gonna pay Hans.
Bogatti 2015 said.
How much?
Bogatti 2015 got so mad his brain got a tumor that would kill him on July 27th, 1914.
Nothing will be enough.
Hans then his life savings in a bucket of molten lava.
Oh, I was just about to give you 5 billion marks, but okay.
Bogatti 2015 stomped off, causing a mini earthquake, killing 3.
You're so mean.
Said some random girl to Hans.
No, I am not a mega electric abuser narcissist.
The girl's jaw then dropped.
Yeah, that's right now, scram.
The girl then ran so fast that their legs turned into a wheel.
Attention.
The general yelled, "We are documenting our soldiers, so everyone come up here." The soldiers lined up faster than diarrhea.
Okay, you first.
The soldier got extremely angry and punched the general in the face.
You mean okay?
The general then removed the soldier's liver and injected 210-liter beers worth of beer into the soldier's veins, and they tuned Irish.
Cool fallout.
Before they could do anything, they had a heart attack.
Next!
The soldier who was next tried to run away.
No, let him go. He'll come back.
The soldier's eyes then turned purple, and he did backflips all the way back.
I told you!
The soldier's eyes then began glowing extremely bright.
General's eyes began to melt and their brain started melting.
Well, I guess the general isn't gonna generally see anymore.
The soldier who said that was then vaporized by the soldier with the purple eyes.
I am now ruler!
The soldier with the purple eyes started getting a massive ego. Nah, yelled some baby.
Oh, and what are you gonna do about it?
The baby smirked and then farted. The soldier with the purple eyes then backhanded the baby into the stratosphere.
Anyone else got any bright ideas?
He yelled, "I do," said Thomas Edison as he rode in on a skateboard and wore sunglasses.
What?
While the soldier with the purple eyes was distracted, some kid pulled down his pants and all the soldiers began laughing because he had boxers with hearts on them.
No, no, no!
The soldier with purple eyes began to rise his arms in the air and his voice echoes,
"Super mega nuclear strike!"
Called and pushed them over into the spike pit while they were distracted and they died. Alright, let's get on with it. The vice general finished. The rest of the documentation is chapter 16, Losing of the Mind.
The general called everyone into the middle of the camp.
Alright everyone, we got some crazy news. Hans pooped his pants.
And when I say crazy,
it's crazy. Carl got dysentery but then lost it after 3 nanoseconds. However, not before the fall.
Franz Ferdinand has been assassinated.
All the soldiers' jaws dropped. I guess that means his birthday is canceled, right? All the soldiers began crying. Anyways, nothing bad is gonna happen, right? The soldier asked, and the general launched a nuclear torpedo at America's house, responded the general. Anyways, Austria has declared war on Serbia. Hans was reading Serbia and Serbia lives on. Thought this was a reference to Serbia and Serbia lives on by writer Lucas Charles Edmonds. So we'll probably be fine. Okay guys, so Germany just declared war on Russia.
The general explained, "We'll probably be fine."
Germany just declared war on France.
The general explained,
all the soldiers had massive diarrhea and reactions. Probably a prank.
Yeah, Britain just declared war
on us.
The general explained, everyone peed themselves.
It's nothing, we're fine.
The general then handed everyone a paper.
Also, we're being sent off to fight. The guy who had been coping for the past 5 or so days then died of sadness. Anyways, get on the train. Hans was really excited for some reason to be deployed.
Hey Carl, you don't think this war will last long, huh? Carl looked at Halo Bright and sucker punched Hans all the way into the train so hard that Hans forgot almost everything and would wake up with a different personality later. Train, we don't have time. All the soldiers got on the train. Hey, what's that noise? They looked behind them and saw Carl getting a lobotomy. Alright, who's next? The doctor asked. All the soldiers were silent. Oh no, almost everyone on the entire planet that Hans could even have a chance to meet was lobotomized and not act crazy that day. This was done by Lucas Charles Edmonds, enforcer. He did this in order to document characters who would act more serious and it'd still be real. Oh no, Lucas is breaking down my door. People reading, keep this document. He is trying to hide.